Welcome,
Boobs.
voluptuous bazooms or ass, whatever suits your fancy. We're flexible here. That's a joke. I am not. But welcome back. I'm not. Not no, it's
I
not.
no, you are not. That was about me.
Okay, good for you. Okay, Gwen. Some of us
That that
aren't.
was that was
Some of us.
Poco with the smirk. That's
Yeah,
that's what that was.
yeah. Some of us aren't chosen. Okay, Gwen. Um,
Go away. Why the fuck are you calling me? Hold up.
who's
You
calling
can
you?
recap.
Okay, cool.
Coworker.
Okay, cool. So while Quinn is on the phone with their coworker, I'm going to recap in a quick thing. Last session, Desdemona and Bernard lightly, and I mean the lightest of lightlies, touched on the fact that in the session beforehand, Bernard low-key attacked her with good intentions, but it still has done emotional damage to both of them. And now they've got to navigate that. Unfortunately, the way that me and Quinn have been playing and running with these two is that they can't deal with all of the trauma and reoccurring shit that has come up to bite them in the ass because we keep giving them new crises to deal with. So they're gonna get to it when they get to it. But later that exact same day, two things happened. One, Bernard and Desdemona have a new companion. They now have a couple-week-old baby rawhead by the name of Skull. If anybody doesn't know what a rawhead is, go do your fucking homework. I'm not going to waste time explaining it to you. But he currently resides in our basement, which is now fashioned after a cave because Desdemona wanted to make him feel like he's at home. Around the same time that Desdemona was making Skull feel at home and Bernard was harumphing over the loss of a very high grade steak, we were in potential sexual somethings. I can't remember the exact tension, but it was it's kind of always there with Bernard.
No, Desdemona wanted to do more, but Bernard was being a stickler because he just put on pants.
Okay, it wasn't just the pants, it was B grade beef. Like B grade beef to something that ain't got taste buds. Like, I'm gonna be real, IRL, if I had to give that up for something I know I ain't gonna enjoy it the way I'm gonna enjoy it, I'm gonna be mad. Like, I'm gonna be for real mad. Um,
I know, Izzy. I am aware of that.
I like red meat. Specifically red.
Anyways, Desdemona had conceded and they were just gonna have dinner, which Bernard was in the process of making when
Yes.
there was a bunch of knocks on the door.
And they were greeted by a gnomish woman and three deep gnome children, who very quickly they realized were Warug Ironsweeps, Bernard's childhood friend, an occasional visitor of this walking mansion of gothic loveliness. That he is married, and apparently he's got three kids. And not only that, but he is currently being held at Blackbridge Prison, awaiting trial for the murder of one High Priestess Meredith of the church of the Spire of Light. Apparently, the Warug fit the overall depiction of what the one out of six guards who survived the initial attack in the High Priestess's main bed chambers was able to describe once he finally was given enough healing potions to speak again. Um, Bernard and Desdemona, along with Warug's wife, Maid Ironsweep, are currently on their way to Blackbridge Prison to see if they can do a bit of super sleuthing and or just knock the whole damn prison over to get Warug back. One way or another, Desdemona and Bernard have agreed, verbally if not verbally, that they are going to do everything in their power to make sure that Warug does not die. Because I don't know if Quinn said this on camera or off camera, but Desdemona factored it in where in the time that I have known Warug and in these last few months, I've already watched him bury one love interest from his younger years. I'm not going to have his wife and three kids have to say goodbye to him. Especially now that I'm involved. Because if he dies now, it's partially my fault. And Bernard agreed and felt the same way. So we are currently on our way to Blackbridge Prison. One thing that I will say before we get underway is that Desdemona and Bernard found out very quickly that they can only teleport and get themselves so close because Blackbridge doesn't allow you to teleport straight into the main onto the main island.
Okay,
Um,
that was one of my questions.
cool. So you actually get bamfed onto an island that is about half a mile away and connected to the main prison buildings by a half mile long, about 30 yards across wide obsidian stone bridge. So that is where we find Bernard and Desdemona, unless Quinn has something that they would like to say. And that
I
is
do.
the
I have
end of the
several
end.
things I would like to say.
Alrighty. What we got?
First thing. Um was do I need to have like the magical transport, or was like magical transport provided? Like how did we get
To
there?
get to the mile, to get to the
Yeah.
island that you can teleport to.
Mhm.
That's up to you. You could have teleported yourselves, or you could have called in a favor. Black Bridge does tele Black Bridge does provide uh transportation to this island from the main continent that it sits next to, Noxtrum. Which
Okay. But
Desdemona
that was
wouldn't.
like
Oh, sorry.
oh, no, go ahead.
Desdemona knows Noxtrum is Bernard's home continent.
Okay.
That is the country that he
Um
hails from.
cool. I will say we just called in a favor for that because I don't feel like rearranging my spell list again.
That is perfectly
Um
fine.
um second thing,
Mm-hmm.
um I would like to get information on the beasts from below. By talking to my husband and asking him about them.
Okay.
Um and I will do that in a second because I do want to RP that, but then also um I do want to ask Maid. Obviously, we're going to try to solve this whole debacle and figure out who actually did the crime. On the off chance, very slim off chance, mind you, that that doesn't work out, is there a way to prove Warwick's alibi using the current cover story that you all have?
A maid looks up at you, and you watch her kind of run through a couple of things in her head, and then she kind of sets her shoulders and goes, "If all else fails, we can tell him. We can tell them who I am, and we can tell them where he was." Um, there is a part of me who is kind of tired of hiding. Um, and I know for a fact, and I know a place where the children can be safe if we start kind of having enemies come after Warog. Um, but and you can see that she kind of like starts to try to stop crying. And she goes, "But can't. Warog can't die today."
Oh, yes, no. On that we agree. That was never on the table. It, other random question. Where are you all currently residing?
Noxtrum's main continent, um, in Marsh Haven. And you see Bernard kind of turns his head around and he goes, "That cesspit? Geez, no wonder why all your children look healthy." And Maid kind of goes, "Yes, it was Warug's kind of. Nobody goes to to Marsh Haven without knowing for a fact that it's a little hard to leave." Um,
Do I recognize the name?
Marsh Haven is taken over by about a quarter of Noxtrum's main landmass. It is a series of the surface level is just a series of marshy swamplands. Underground, it like, and Desdemona knows this probably just because of homework and research and the fact that some of the natural ingredients there could probably help you with your work. Um, it fungal and mushrooms. It is a
Mhm.
apothecasts, necromancers, and just all around weird person's paradise. The only issue is that most of the surface level land is just festered with noxious fumes. Like some of them, like if you get too close, will
Mhm.
just poisons,
Yeah.
toxins,
Mhm.
things that you can inhale, things that are topical. It just,
Mhm.
and when you go underground, it gets worse.
Yeah.
Um, so the fact that some inhabitants of the Noxtrom continent and country make their homes underground is very odd, and it can genuinely change generation to generation their overall DNA and overall like on a molecular level, like buildup, or not
Okay.
buildup, but like molecular construction, in the sense that, like, if you try and breathe fresh air and your family has been there for a few centuries, you can actually get sick the same way someone like you or me
Yeah.
would get sick if you breathe in noxious fumes.
Right.
Mexico water.
Mhm.
Yes,
Mexico water.
sure.
No, well, there's shit. If you go to Mexico, don't drink unbottled water because there's like shit in the water that they've been drinking for forever
Mm-hmm.
that they're like chill. Anyways, question for you. What? Sorry.
You're all good.
You're
Um,
fine.
what? And if you want to do it on there too, you'll have to mute the mic on there. As long
Okay.
as, well,
Yeah, but I don't care.
what cleaner did you use when you cleaned up gross stuff? Do you
The
remember?
the Febreze and the baking soda should be on
That
the
was
kitchen
it.
counter.
No,
Yeah,
no, but that was it. That was all you used.
that was all I could find.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because it smells like copper in here. Like I walked in and I got hit with it, like copper. So I'm should be fine, but it was just probably yeah. So I just wanted to check to make sure I wasn't freaking out about nothing. But we have to put him in Brown's, and he seems fine. I just found some wet food, so
Okay.
he's doing fine. But I just wanted to double check with you because yeah, it's weird. Like you probably acclimatized because you've been in here all day, but I like walked in and I was like, fresh blood. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what the copper is. That's
Okay, cool.
coppery. Blood be coppery.
Cool.
So yeah, I mean, I checked. He seems fine. He's lying in the bathtub. Nothing in the bathtub. Whatever. So just wanted to ask. Sorry.
Cool.
Um, as I'm getting this information, I will kind of tilt my head to the side and just kind of look at her for a second and just go, have you all ever thought of moving?
Why nobody goes there? And that was kind of the whole point.
Right, I suppose. Yes. But if there was somewhere nicer that people also never went to, would you consider moving?
I guess.
Okay.
Bernard kind of side eyes you for a second, being like, "What are you doing?"
she she doesn't say anything. But Bernard sees the I'm making mental calculations face that Desdemona gets. Um, I also sorry, this was another DM question I have. We've
Yeah, what's
kind
up?
of been playing it that Bernard can respond back telepathically to Desdemona. Is that just a thing now or no?
Yes,
Okay,
that is
cool.
just a thing.
Okay, cool. I just
Here's
wanted to
a.
make sure that we can
Mm-hmm.
talk to each other
Yep.
whenever we go into the thing. Okay. Cool. Cool, 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 cool. Um did I do that wrong? Oh, I'm dumb. I didn't actually need that one. Oh wait, no, I do want that. Fuck. Okay. Why is everything suck? Okay. Cool. Bernard, darling.
Bernard, apart from that look, has kind of been stoically, like with his arms crossed, looking out over the ocean. Just to preface it before you start this, you can see Blackbridge from here. That's how big this
Mhm.
main building is. It's a half a mile
Mhm.
away, and you can watch it just kind of rising out of the ocean, just obsidian black. Like, just the most cliche, like, you can hear the crows from here.
Okay.
And just this overall pall of just despair and just like rotten, like just ugh. And then off to the side is this white and golden, just gaudy spire that kind of offsets from it and rises up over any of the parapets of the original black building.
Okay. And are we waiting to be brought over? Is that what we're doing right now?
Bernard said that when you got here, he's going to wait for the rest of the beast of below to
Rest of the
arrive.
beast. Okay, cool. Right. So your old coworkers, um, your fellow beasts, as it were.
I don't like how you always smirk when you say that. I don't like the fact that you're still laughing about this.
I'm not. I'm not.
You're lying though.
Quinn is laughing. Desdemona has a better poker face, I swear.
Roll for it, you coward. Roll it, damn it.
Fuck! It's a 12.
Yeah, poker face, my ass. So like you say the thing, and then you like it's just like you and your fellow beasts. Mm. And Bernard's just like, mm-hmm. Mm. Like Bernard like has Bernard being the attentive husband that he is turned to you to acknowledge the fact that you said his name and you obviously need something.
Mhm,
As soon as he
mhm.
saw that, he turned back to the front. He's just like, that doesn't
Yeah.
even merit a response. I'm not, no.
Mhm. Why are you all not together? Because from my knowledge, you all were like a relatively formidable force in your heyday, from what I heard.
Well, when a group en masse enveloped and entitled due to exposure over long term of being one of the more formidable um, war bands on the continent of Noxstrom, all of a sudden all get sent to prison for the mistakes of a few and serve time there. You kind of leave with a couple bitter feelings. So when we all kind of served our time and left, and not all of us served the same amount of time. I was one of the last ones out. But by the time I got out, it was made very apparent that the band wasn't waiting, and we just kind of acknowledged each other over the years, and kind of just went our separate ways.
Was so you were set up and sent to prison?
Oh no, we
Am I
went for
understanding
crimes.
this?
We went for the crimes we did.
Oh, okay, but like, well, if you were doing was it just like the law cut up to you?
No. One of our members happens to have very little impulse control. And we were going to get off scot free, and then one of them brought up one of our group members' family, and she killed four of them in the courtroom in front of the gods and the wardens and everyone. So we all kind of got sentenced because she got jumped, and we all stepped in because we look out for our own. And a pretty substantial fight happened in one of the buildings we're actually probably going to walk by when we get to the main island. Um, Last thing that kind of dropped, the chief wardens and the higher ups of the Spire of Light all came out from their porcelain uh, uh, like seats on high and basically said if we served our time quietly and peacefully, they wouldn't smote us into the next astral plane. And we agreed. Let me rephrase that. Some of us agreed. Some of us were willing to fight to the death and spend any time in what was, if I'm quoting them correctly, some of the least flattering prison uniforms that they've ever been put in. But I was one of the ones who would have rather served the time because, as you know, Duragars have a pretty decent lifespan, and it was only about 30 years. I spent a couple more due to a yard brawl that I had to jump in on because somebody decided that they were going to attack Warug, and unfortunately, I couldn't stand for that. But no, yeah, make no decisions. My stint at Black Prison was for exactly something that we did.
Oh no, I believe that. Um, so it was all you were all amicable?
Oh yeah, none of us hate each other. At least I don't think. I mean, you never really 100% truly know what anybody thinks of you deep down inside. That's what talking is for, and that's what trust is
Okay.
for. But
Um,
as you saw, I called and told them that Warwick was in trouble, and they all decided that we were saddling up and getting the band back together. But,
yes. I did see that. Yes. Um, okay. Um, what is the like, are all of them like you and Warwick, or is there different skill sets among you all?
a pretty diverse set of skill sets. We have a couple of things in common. We're all natives to Noxtrum. We are all races that are native to Noxtrum. We all have some form of an issue with the authority figures and powers that be not looking out for us lower what they view to be lower life forms.
That'll do it.
Oh no, honey,
Burger.
nope,
Burger. What is
no. It's the bottom of my red lunch bag box.
cool?
I accidentally
No. Please, Carl.
yeah.
No. What was in it?
That's a story for another minute.
No, what was in it?
What do you mean? What was in it?
What was in your box?
It was empty.
How'd this be?
That's the burnt plastic off the bottom of it.
Oh, did you burn it on the stove?
Maybe. It was insulated, so
Woo! Sorry, I got scared. Sorry, Quinn.
you're fine. I forgot to tell you. Yeah, it's been a long day.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah. So sorry. What was the last thing Desdemona said? Apologies.
I was asking about their skill sets.
Yes. So we all are we are not exactly what most people would call upstanding citizens. Most of
Oh, I
us as
figured.
younger folk, and in the cases of one or two of us as children, had already pretty much sunk into a life of crime, more out of a state of survival than anything else.
Of
Um,
course.
and as we continue to grow and mighty morph, even though some of us did our darndest to do and be better, we realized that society didn't really have a place for us. So, out of necessity for survival and as a way to start sticking it to the powers that be that couldn't give a good goddamn about people who look like me and my former compatriots, we formed the Beasts of Below. Let me make it abundantly clear. We weren't freedom fighters for the sake of freeing those we believe in need of help. We did it because um, it indulged our base desires. It paid off a lot of our debts, and it gave us wealth and power. Um, at the height of our power, I think we led and could have called upon around 20,000 combatants that could have stormed Blackbridge at the peak of where we were at. led by the Core 8 lieutenants, of which I was one. Apart from other similarities, I mean, as far as dress code and aesthetic does, I mean, I dress a lot better, but the overall color and schematic hasn't changed a whole lot. When you meet them, it'll do that. And you can see Maid's kind of side eyeing Bernard, and while she's not smirking, she's definitely got a bit of like I'm not gonna say it, but there's a look on her face that's just like, you're not quite saying the thing that you don't. Okay, I'm gonna leave it alone.
I will look over at her. Copper for your thoughts?
I mean, you don't have to pay me. We're fine. Well, from what little Warrug has told me, one of the bigger similarities, of which Bernard, Warrug, and the other founding member, who I believe is named Alma, and Bernard kind of nods his head. He's giving her this look like, come on, man. And she's just like, one of the other things they kind of had, and again, I wasn't there, and in your defense, Bernard, you and Warrug were a lot younger. And Bernard is just kind of like almost pleading at this point, is giving her a look like, please, please don't. But one of the other similarities that Bernard and the rest of the beast below shared is, and then off to the side you hear a high Scottish brogue go, "We're all short as shit." And Bernard just kind of sighs and turns, and as you look over at the what are now disembarking from a smaller boat, the beasts from below. The tallest one of them is 5 feet tall, 4'10" tops. 4'10" tops.
God, I'm a giant. Okay.
Oh yeah.
This is gonna be great. Okay.
I am saying this to you
Ooh.
as your friend who loves you dearly. And you don't have to roll for it, because if you say she doesn't, she doesn't. If at any point in time Desdemona laughs, I can't help you.
No.
If you okay,
Cue
the
ball.
person who yelled, if you want to check our chat,
Okay.
is an older dwarvish lady disembarking in black furs and like a set of half mail, but
Mhm.
but on her left arm you can see is gray fabric that kind of resembles the same shirt that Bernard is wearing, and as she gets closer, with a giant, like for her, giant maul
Mhm.
resting on her shoulder, that has another set of prison numbers
Mhm.
across the band of it. She's 3.5 feet tall, maybe, but she is making up for it, which, even though you know you're looking at an older dwarf lady, like pushing 300 at this point,
Mhm.
she is about as wide as she is tall. And
Mhm.
she's walking around in plate metal with a what has to be 30, 40, 50 pound hammer on her shoulder. There's no doubt in your mind that this woman has the strength and the physicality to sprint in that rig.
Okay.
I am going to warn Quinn in this moment right now. I'm about to send you a lot of photos. I'm about to hit you real quick with a
Okay.
137 real fast one.
Okay.
Crawling out of the boat behind her is what I can only describe as a frog-esque Locathar, in nothing but a leopard printed loincloth held together with a really thick leather belt and a trident in his hand.
Mhm. Okay.
I'm trying to get the photos loading on my end. It might not let me. It might get mad at me. If that's the truth, I'm going to be real upset. Come on, load. I just think my computer's trying to do too much shit right now. But as it's loading, the only thing that is very like not frog-esque about it is that he's got claws on his toes and his feet, which is and his
Okay.
hands, which as you know is like not frog-esque. And as he like crawls off with this trident and then this really wicked looking like set of like chain hooks hanging off of his belt. There he is, if you want to go take a look. He's
No,
also
yeah, I
got
got him.
2 full sets of shark teeth. And he is like a very, very Viridian-esque green. The only thing the picture gets wrong is that the leathers are all in black, and the fur that you see is very much Black Panther-esque. Like it's a
Okay.
dark cat.
Hmm.
As he gets closer, you can see very specific black feline. You know he's wearing Displacer Beast fur, just as
Nice.
a thing. Next up, is a little barefoot halfling man in hunting leathers rocking a longbow. His eyes are
He's
very,
so
very.
cute. I love him.
He's rocking a pair of very viridian green eyes. The only genuine issue that you can see is that he is currently riding on top of this. Which you can only describe is of what would happen if a bison from the American West and a mountain gorilla from Africa had a nightmare kid. And this thing is
Okay.
walking on all fours. Its front hands are gorilla hands. Its back legs are bison hooves. It's got horns coming out of its like very gorilla-esque face. It's got a bison tail and like this giant hump that extends up over its head, and he's like sitting on top of its like shoulder, kind of like how people ride camels. Um,
Okay.
there is a little Harangon woman in black Western
Snap.
style sheriff's attire
Nah.
with a pair of revolvers on her belt and a
Yep.
rifle strapped to her back.
Is her name Judy? Please tell me her name is Judy.
No.
Damn it.
There is an albino Kenko with a little set of alchemist's tools on what is her little belt and a little lyre, like that she's kind of just holding like she's ready to play some music. Um, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I don't know if this one is going to let me do it, but you might have to click that link. Nope, hold on, don't click that link. Let me see if I can do it again. And last but certainly not least, I'm just going to describe him for you while I try and find the photo. The one that is probably the most, not off putting, but just surprising to you, is there is a man who gets off last and then takes up a position off of the first dwarf lady's right shoulder. He
Okay.
is the tallest out of this bunch. He looks like he's somewhere between 4'10" and 5 feet tall.
Okay.
He is very broad shouldered. He is kind of hunched. You can tell that the muscles in his back are obviously just like this guy does like lat pull downs and chin ups like all the time. He's very wide set. He looks slimy. He looks greasy. He looks to be he's human, but he's got a big set of mutton chops, a bit of a turned up, very very wide nose, and an underbite where you can see 2 pretty respectably sized tusks. He's got this like odd off like kiltered spiked mohawk, no weapons on him, and all he's wearing is a set of like sandals, like Birkenstocks, a pair of really really billowy pants. Um, and then this like big like over like you can see he's turned his prison shirt into like this longer gray overcoat that's just open. He's covered in what like this world's version of like just gang tattoos would be with, and it's all arrested by the fact that there is a giant boar tattooed across his like stomach. This guy's built like a well-fed like warlord, and like where he's obviously very powerfully built, but also he obviously loves his mutton and meat. um and as they all
Okay.
disembark, you can see that it's the front lady that yelled, "We're short as shit."
The last one, what race was he again?
Human.
He was human. Oh, I hate that.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's why he's weird.
Sorry, I was okay. Whew. Yeah, that's a group. Hmm.
And you can see Maid is probably not quite holding her poker face as well as you are right now. Bernard
Mhm.
looks not defeated, but just kind of annoyed. And he
Mhm.
looks up and he goes, "Hello, Alma." And she walks over and they grip forearms. Bernard kind of reluctantly. Alma looks like she's having a great time.
Yeah.
And he's just like, son of a bitch. You actually did grow that other inch that you were shitting on me about all the time. You're taller than me now. And Bernard goes, I mean, yeah, I was 25 the last time we met. I was barely out of childhood. I wasn't done growing. And she goes, I can see that. And she kind of flicks the lapel on his suit. And she goes, see that you've also upgraded your dress code? Well enough for
You're
you.
welcome.
She looks back at Bernard and goes, who's the Stark? And you watch Bernard's hackles go up.
I'm laughing. That's fucking hilarious. Desdemona looks offended.
Yeah, no, for real. And Bernard goes, Alma. He looks at the human man, who literally looks like he just like kind of sweats grease now that he's closer to you.
Ew.
And he's like sitting there, and he's not a mouth breather, but like he's obviously breathing heavily, and he's kind of like like Desdemona. You're an exotic looking woman. He's staring at you.
Yeah.
And he goes, Morgan, avert your eyes before I take them out. And Morgan's eyes snap back to Bernard, and he just goes, think you can handle it, little man? And Bernard goes, I did find the last time that second row of tusks hasn't grown back in yet, has it? And you watch Morgan bristle. And Alma sticks an arm out in front of Morgan and she goes, all right, you've made your point. We'll play nice. But seriously, who's the really tall lady? And Bernard goes, Alma, Morgan, Beast of Below. Probably you guys all know Maid. And Alma goes, she's just like, hi there. Sorry to hear about your brother. We're here to help if we can. You watch Bernard clock the fact that Alma and the Beast of Below know the lie about how Maid and Warug know each other.
Can I insight that?
Yeah, sure. What are you looking for?
To see if they believe the lie?
Got it.
That was a good roll. That's a 28.
Okay. Well, I need to go look at 7 different characters' base level intelligence right now. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. I love you.
So
You're doing a great job.
Morgan, the greasy pig man. The frog one, the Kenku, the gorilla bison, and the little halfling riding on top of him all kind of hear Alma's words, and you watch them go, mm-hmm. Alma? And the Harengon girl not buying it at all.
Okay.
So out of these 7, 5 of them are buying it. You can tell really quickly that the gorilla bison thing is not sentient. It's an animal. It's an animal. But the other members, like literally the Alma and this Harengon lady, are just like, yeah, no, not buying it. Sorry. There's no sister cares this much.
The women of the group know better. I love that.
Well, I mean, except for the Kenku. The Kenku's female too.
Oh, and the Kenku. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
but that's more just because you've noticed the Kenku has a million-mile stare, and she's more looking through you than at you at this point. And Bernard kind of goes, obviously you guys have met Maid. May I introduce to you? And you see Bernard, despite the circumstances, has a moment of genuine pride. And he goes, I would like you all to introduce you to Desdemona Starr, my wife. Solid 3 count. And Alma bursts into laughter and has to brace one of her hands on Bernard's chest as she bends forward. The rest of the gang are kind of looking up at you to realize that you're not laughing and you're not joking. And then Alma straightens back up and looks up at you again, looks at Bernard and goes, "Oh, you're serious."
As she says that, I kind of just do one of these.
And Bernard raises his hand in tandem and just goes, yes, I am. And Alma goes, well, for fuck's sake. And she looks up at you, she's just you're the reason for the suit, aren't you?
I just nod.
Yeah, no, there's no way Bernard dressed himself like that. So you're married now? He goes, yep. And the two of you have been together for, Bernard goes, was it 20 some odd years at this point, sweetheart?
Something like that.
And you haven't tried to kill each other?
Why would we kill each other when we can kill other people together?
You watch the little Harengon kind of look up at you and smirk. And almost too readily, all of the beasts from below all kind of take a second and go, yeah. Alma's still kind of squinting at the two. She's trying to find where the chink in the armor is. She's giving Bernard a look like, where's the joke? Because there's no way in shit. And after not finding one, she goes, I suppose you get all kinds. Okay. All right. I guess this is what we're gonna be doing now. And you can see on Bernard's face that he hasn't looked away from her face, and he's not blinking. And you can tell that Bernard, it wasn't just the fact that she called you a Stark. Bernard's, you can see his hands clenching and unclenching. And she's kind of looking at either of his hands. He's just in a suit and a nice pair of shoes.
I'm gonna put my arm, drape my arm around his shoulder, kind of a thing, and then tap his shoulder to kind of calm him down and see if that'll relax him.
He looks up
and just go,
oh, yep.
And then just go, yes, well, now that we're all here, shall we head across the pond and go solve a murder mystery or something?
Let me smooch.
Somebody got murdered? That was out of Alma. Bernard kind of shrugs and goes, I'll tell all of you on the way. Let's move. Desdemona, you are the only one who clocks it because you're the only one tall enough to keep an eye on all of these people at the same time. Morgan is taking a very, very weird interest in Maid at this point. After it made it clear that you were taken, he kind of went, fuck it, I'm not going to fight Bernard. It wasn't out of respect for you. He didn't want to fight
Right,
Bernard.
yeah, I'm aware of that.
He's now taking a weird, he hasn't gotten any closer to her, but just from his size and overall stature, he's in leaping distance from where he's standing. And while Maid hasn't noticed, and Bernard hasn't clocked it because he's been too busy staring down Alma for the last 2 minutes, yeah, the greasy pig man
has Maid clocked it?
Nope.
Are they moving?
I mean, people are starting to turn towards the thing. You can see there are a series of like not trolleys, but like carriages with people coming and going from this island to the next one. Um,
I will.
mhm.
Oh, there was.
I will let go of Bernard, and then I will go over to Maid, and I will like. I can't link arms with Maid because she's so much shorter than I am. Um, and it feels patronizing to reach down and like take her hand because she's not a fucking child. Um, but I will walk towards the carriages like with her
Mhm.
and kind of like have her go first and then me like right behind her. As
Are you
unassuming as I possibly can.
are you still keeping an eye on Morgan?
Yeah.
The overall rage and frustration that comes off of him as soon as there's an obstacle between him and her is pretty palpable.
Hey.
You're pretty sure
Mhm.
you're the only one who clocks it because you're watching for it,
Yeah.
but you see yourself like kind of step into his line of sight, and he kind of looks up to your face and then looks like away, but like for that split second, like it was murderous.
Did he like realize I was doing it on purpose or is it just like a general?
Let's see. How about
Do I
how
need
about it,
to,
Morgan?
do I need to make a deception check
If you'd like.
or a performance? I guess I don't know. They're equally shitty. Okay, I got a 16.
Morgan rolled a 17 on the dice.
Fuck.
So you watch Morgan like watch your kind of because your legs basically block her. And then he
Yep.
very slowly looks up to look you in the face. You're looking at a man who doesn't really give a shit if he gets tasked with fighting gods.
Mm-hmm.
And there is something very animalistic and bestial and ugly on his face as he kind of wrote you off as like, okay, cool, whatever. And now you're back in his line of sight, and he kind of gives you a look like, okay, we can play that game. And then he kind of sidles past you and heads for the wagon. Um, Alma and Bernard are kind of talking. By talking, I mean Bernard's bringing her and any of the other beasts who care to listen up to speed as you guys all kind of board this wagon and are sitting there. It's a little cramped, just because
Mm-hmm.
most of the people in this crew are wide for their height, and you're tall as shit.
What does he come with?
Mm-hmm.
You sit. You can tell that even though May didn't clock Morgan, she's not really comfortable with most of the rest of this party right now.
I will ask if she wants to sit on my lap.
And Maid will kind of look at you for a second and go, I mean, if that's all right with you.
Of course.
She kind of like just very like like still trying
Mm-hmm.
to touch as little of you as possible. Like she doesn't lean back into you. Like she doesn't like it's just kind of like on your knees with her like own hands on her knees, kind of.
The stress is very hurtful. That you won't wrinkle it. It's fine.
Okay.
Great.
Um,
Yes.
and you all kind of sit in the interior. Bernard's still talking, and he kind of finalizes it with, so it's very obvious that Wara didn't do it. For once, and that is said by Bernard, Alma, and two of the other older looking members by default.
Mhm.
And they all kind of have a quick chuckle over that. Apparently, Warwick had a pretty violent reputation. Um,
Mhm.
Oh, right.
Um, I don't want to just sling out magic. They don't know what the fuck I do yet.
What? No. What?
Oh, actually, I know what I'll do. In my head, to my husband, I just say, "Okay, I know
Here.
Alma and Morgan. Can I get names on these other
I
people?"
just wanted to buy.
and Bernard goes, yeah, sure, sorry. Just to put it in perspective, the halfling chose to stay riding on his gorilla friend, and they are currently walking next to your carriage, just to
Okay.
make that clear. And Bernard kind of like gives you quick description, and he goes, the bulbous frog with the two rows of shark teeth, his name is Gengi. The halfling's name is Gustavo. The
Hmm.
gorilla bison's name is Clyde.
Wait, hold up. I'm writing these down. Ranger. Harambe is actually Clyde.
Disrespectful. One bullet couldn't take this boy down. Disrespectful.
Okay. Wait, you said Clyde is in Clyde?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right.
The Harengon's name is Lady Flint.
Oh. Okay.
And then the Kenku's name is Screech.
Oh. Does he say this in my head or does he say this out loud?
He would probably out loud go, "Sincerest apologies. I'm gonna halt for introductions at the moment." And then he goes, "Wait a minute. Where's Simon?" And you watch Alma's shoulders kind of set, and she said, "We gave him, some lace whiskey on the boat right over. He was driving us nuts." And he's just like, "So you left him on the boat?" And she goes, "Yeah." And he goes, "You left him alone and unsupervised this close to Blackbridge. He's going to get us sent to jail again." And she goes, No, you need to understand that was pretty strong stuff. I don't think that that's going to be a problem." At that exact moment, you feel the stone under you rumble. And if you look out the window, you watch as an explosion about a quarter of a mile high extends out from where you guys came in. And you watch as a comet from the smoke cloud arcs up and down and is making a beeline for your carriage. As it gets closer, apologies for the noise, sweetheart, you hear a very distinct and this freaking decrepit old like gnome dude smoking in nothing but a pair of black overalls and a straw hat just hits the roof of your thing, rolls over and swings himself in, and he's just like, "Sorry about that, folks. I had a bit of a nap, but I'm feeling better now. What's up?" And everybody in the car, just all of the beasts below, including your husband, take a second and just go, "Oh, for fuck's sake." And he's just like, "Hey, anybody know what we had?" "Oh, Bernie!" And Bernard just goes, "Simon, I've told you for years that I don't like it when you call me that." And he's just like, "Yeah, but I haven't seen you in a couple of years. I had to get that one out the system." And then he like looks to see who he's sitting next to and looks up and he goes, "Well, I'll be conswaggled." And he takes his hat off immediately and he's just like, "Well, howdy there, man."
Hello there.
He's like very obviously like he the look on his, it's not creepy, but he's
Mhm.
smiling. He's got about 4 teeth. And you're looking at a very very old, like pushing 500. And he's got a little knapsack kind of strung over his bag. You can see from the magic coming off of it that it is a main bag of holding with 5 more bag of holding pouches kind of inlaid to the sides.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
But he got this very wispy, thin, like bushy mustache beard combo where it all kind of sticks out and it's like puffed. He's got like this. He's got like the bald top with like the 2 tufts of hair that come out this way when he takes his hat off. So it's like this just bald, shiny pate with it just covered in little liver spots. You can see that he's probably got a little bit of arthritis in his hands. And while he moves incredibly good for his age, there's a bit of stiffness in his movements. He's obviously older. But he's looking at you like a young boy who's just met his favorite actress, like a very obvious, just like it completely innocent, non-creepy at all, but just like a wow. And Bernard is just like, "Yes, Simon, please meet my wife Desdemona." And he looks back at Bernard and he goes, "Well, I'll be goddamned. How long y'all been together?"
A couple decades now.
Well, I'll be son of a bitch. And he actually, like, camaraderie kind of pats Bernard on the shoulder and goes, for, for what it's worth, son, I'm happy for you. Genuinely, I didn't think you were going to stick that. I mean, especially after the first three went to hell in a handbasket. And Bernard's just like, it wasn't that bad. He's just like, I had to set off nitroglycerine because of the second one. It was that bad, son. That being said,
I'm glad he could stick this one too. I'm rather attached at this point, so.
He looks at you, you watch him run some kind of, like, you've seen calculation on people's face. It's not calculation because this man isn't that smart. But like it's like this weird janky, like, and like you're used to most men doing the once and over. He's very much looking at your face. And he still hasn't put the hat back on. He's still like holding it here respectfully, like, and he just kind of goes, "Pardon me, ma'am, but could I ask you a question?"
Oh,
Absolutely.
Actually, I don't know if this is appropriate to ask in front of to ask a lady. And Flint, and Lady Flint, the Harengon, who's sitting back, who's just rolling through one of the cylinders on one of her pistols without looking up, goes, "If you have to think about it, Simon, it probably isn't."
No. I'm curious now. Please indulge me. I won't get upset.
Pat, he gets a little flushed around here, and he just kind of leans in close conspiratorially, and he's just like, and he's kind of just like pointing towards Bernard's lower half. And he's just like, what are we talking?
Okay. All right. Yeah, no, I'm not about all that. Totally fine. No worries, dude.
Oh no.
Desdemona.
Oh no. I don't like that. DMs of the world, when your player rolls without telling you exactly what they've done, like, that's not supposed to happen in reverse. I'm supposed to do that shit to put my players at unease. That's not supposed to happen in reverse.
Desdemona will take a second, but she does smirk. And she will kind of like, and like take a second as in to comprehend, like, how much of this am I actually going to share right now with this person I just met. And then she kind of, she just does one of these. She's just like a,
You notice as you have this interaction that it has gone weirdly quiet. Every single one of the beasts below, with the exception of Bernard, because they were all kind of having their own little conversations and chatting. Every single one except for Bernard is looking at you to see what your answer is. Bernard's looking at the floor with just this, like, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, so I give that gesture, and then I also go, but he also knows how to use it, which I would argue is almost as important.
Simon then does something weird. He looks back at Flint, he looks at Alma, and he goes, that's not the answer.
What?
All right, cool. Never mind. It's still rolling. And he goes and he, like, finds a spot on the floor to sit down. And Bernard grabs you, and in your head, he just you hear him go, "Thank you."
I'm so confused. Was I not supposed to answer that honestly?
No. You're, sweetheart, you're perfect in every way, shape, and form. That is exactly the answer you should have given. Thank you.
Okay, I'm confused.
It's okay. You can stay that way. I'm not, and I really wish I was. It's
okay.
Bernard kind of looks at you, and he sees that it's kind of bothering you to be the only one here, with the exception of
Who's
Maid, who like doesn't know what.
who's just like
And,
earmuffs?
and Bernard just kind of goes, every single one of the beasts below war, with the exception of me, has been caught out naked while leaving a brothel or some night of passion. For the last century and change, the beasts below have all trying to been figuring out what the hell my dick size is.
Oh.
And the only reason I haven't said anything to this point is apparently there is way too much gold invested in some of the members of this group finding out the answer to this question. And I don't want to give them the satisfaction of collecting on that money.
If I had known that, I could have given the answer that would have gotten the money and then we could have split it.
No, I'm not in on this.
Oh, okay.
I don't get to play. I know.
Oh. Okay, I guess that's fair. But you
Yes.
could have had a bet on who would win.
Bernard thinks about it, and then you hear him in your head go, no, 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 no. I'm not involved in this. I don't want to play this game. And you can see, like, that after Pappy goes and sits down, he kind of, like, everybody kind of sits back, and Flint and Alma look a little let down. The frog is kind of just smiling to himself. Like you can see that all of them were kind of like leaned forward, ready for you to just spill the fucking beans on this shit.
Why would I do that?
I don't fucking know, because Desdemona on some days likes to pester her husband.
Yes, I do, but it was a genuine question, and so I was gonna give a genuine answer.
Okay.
If I had picked up on the joke, then I would have elaborated, but I didn't. So, anyways.
That Bernard, as far as Bernard's concerned, that's okay. But yeah, you guys kind of travel on. You can see that while obviously not the happiest of circumstances, the beasts of below are kind of shooting the shit at this point. Morgan seems to have calmed down enough to where he's just kind of sitting back with his arms kind of resting on his stomach. Two things that I want to give to you about Morgan kind of free. One, with the exception of you and Bernard, he's the only other person in this group who doesn't have a visible weapon.
Okay.
And secondly, you can see an overall pall and haze of magic that kind of generates from the kidney belt he's got kind of strapped around his waist. Huh?
Oh no, wait, no, he has a magical belt.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Stop. No,
Okay. Sorry, continue.
But yeah. You can see that like Lady Flint has kind of been like making side eyes at you, not in a way that's like rude or off-putting or weird. She's just kind of very obviously taking you in, because
Okay.
again, Lady Flint is 2'4", maybe, but she is built along the same lines as your body type. She's very thick in the thighs and the hips. Very like bit of a corset over her like upper tops, real snatched waist. Very nice set of fur covered tits. She's got very delicate hands, but like there is no mistaking the dexterity in which she's kind of looking over not only her two revolvers, but also a couple different kinds of ammunition that you can see strapped to a bandolier and then her belt.
How far away from me is she?
She's one over. Gengi's currently kind of. It's you and Maid are up against the window, Bernard, and then her.
Oh, so I would. Okay, cool. I can talk over my husband. That's fine.
Literally.
I'm assuming. So I'll just wait until I catch her looking at me, and then I will just go. Did you make those yourself? And I will like point to her. gun and her weapons.
Oh yeah.
Very nice.
Appreciate it. Thank you. And as she flips them both up, you see on the butt of one of them it says lesson and the other one says learned.
Cute.
And she kind of like does a little flourish with both of them and puts them away, and she goes, be pretty embarrassing if I didn't. My family does run one of the largest firearm manufactories in the world at this point. It's why I have the lady at the front of my name. We're the closest thing to a started from the bottom, now sits at the top of the pile, noble family that you're probably ever going to meet. And Bernard goes, yeah, and she never shuts up about it either. And she's just
sure
like,
her
okay.
praise is well deserved.
What'd you say?
I said I'm sure her praise is well deserved.
Yeah. There's only so Bernard looks at you and he goes, honey, you aren't a beast of below without exploiting people. And Lady Flint, literally with a grin on her face, still fiddling with something, goes, hey, it's not a crime if they don't find the body.
Desdemona will mumble something about maybe, but it is a crime if you use the body. Or something to that effect, but I will.
That was a crit for Lady Flint. She for sure heard that with her rabbiting and
Shock.
And she kind of side eyes you like this, and like kind of looks at you again. Her eyes run over your belt where like your shit is like stuff sits, and she looks at you again, and she kind of gives you a quick nod of acknowledgement and, dare I say, respect.
I will like fiddle with one of my bone earrings, just nonchalantly, as she's looking.
The other one that you can kind of see is like kind of looking at you. The gorilla bison has knocked his horn into the window twice, like trying to lean in closer to your face. And while the halfling keeps like redirecting its head, it's not a forceful thing. He's not like slapping him. He's just gonna like, Clyde, come on.
Okay. So actually, that would probably freak it out. I will. Hey, do not bite me, sir.
No, stop being a dick.
I will. Can I wave at him? Are the windows open?
They can be opened.
No, I'm not gonna open them. I just kind of wave at Clyde.
Clyde. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna roll for it. Why not? Let's give Clyde a chance. Yeah. Okay. Now I have to roll for
what?
Gustavo.
Don't look at me.
Yeah. Nope. So as you wave, you see this creature's eyes light up, and he goes up on his hind bull legs and just both hands slam on the roof of the thing as he like presses his face right up to the thing. While the halfling is obviously like pulling at two like parts of the like hump and mane of his thing to get him off, the entire carriage stops and rocks up on the wheels on that side as everybody's just like, "Damn it, Gustavo, get Clyde to let go!" And Clyde off to the side in a like Irish accent goes, "It's not my fault. The lady waved at him. You know how he is. Come on, bud, let go."
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. Clive likes pretty. It's fine. And he's like pulling on. Clive is like at this point in time, he's like pushed his face so hard up against the glass that a crack has formed in the glass, and he's like really
like,
trying. What?
Is it like right where I am?
Yeah.
Okay, can I like open the window and like pet his nose?
Oh my god.
Yeah. As soon as you open the window, like you see, like it's a very like. I'm not gonna do what gorilla noises over this thing because that's low-key racist. But
Loki?
yeah, it's high-key racist. But you just like immediately you let you pet his nose and he calms down. His feet come down off his hands come down off the thing, and the thing rocks back into place. And you guys just kind of sit there in a minute while Beauty soothes the beast and calms him down from almost freaking knocking this goddamn thing over. Meanwhile, everybody's just kind of righting themselves. You kind of stuck it because, unlike everybody else in this thing, while sitting in one of the chairs, your feet still touch the ground. So you were able to kind of
Yep.
just like brace one of your legs.
Mhm.
Gengi and Screech, like full fell out of their spots, like hit the ground. Pappy is currently like death gripping something, and he goes, "Would you tell that some bitch not to rock the boat? I'm dealing with nitroglycerine." And Alma looks down at Simon and she goes, "Simon, I swear to Christ, what have I told you about using that shit in confined spaces?" And he goes, "Well, it's not my fault. It took all of those sticks of dynamite for me to catch up with you guys. Don't think I didn't realize that you tried to get me drunk and leave me behind." And how many times
I
have I
don't
don't?
know. I don't know why anyone would want to leave you behind.
Well, thank you, miss. I appreciate that. See, the lady thinks I'm nice. And Alma looks over at you and she's just like, "Give it a minute." Um, Meanwhile, so you soothe the beast. The window closes, and even though he like kind of looks at you sadly as the window gets closed, he goes back
Just
to
like
just walking.
as he's like walking away, I'll just go, "It's nice to meet you, friend. I'll pet you more later."
Clyde hears that, and you feel him like stop walking. See him like stop walking and tense up. Um, let's roll it up again to see
Oh
if
my god!
Clyde tries to do. So Clyde just crit, and Gustavo rolled a 5. Clyde hears you say that, like walks a couple of steps, is like looking at the way. You can see he's like trying to walk faster to get there,
Mhm.
so you guys can disembark, and he can get scratches again. And he's just like Gustavo's like, "Clyde, buddy, come on, slow down. We need to stay with the group." And Clyde finally stops, looks, and you watch him disappear. Like as he like backs up, and then you hear a very distinct thump, and then your wagon accelerates as you can only assume Clyde has shoved his shoulder into the back of it and is now pushing it faster.
Okay.
So in Clyde's defense, it cuts your trip down by about 30 minutes.
Yay!
Have I
But you
mentioned how much
definitely,
I don't like Clyde?
huh?
Have I mentioned how much I don't like Clyde?
That's fine.
I love Clyde.
Clyde's perfect. What are you talking about?
Clyde is a bunny rabbit obsessed with explosions.
No, Simon's a gnome who's obsessed with explosives. Clyde
Oh,
is a
Clyde
basic.
is Harambe.
oh.
Clyde is Harambe with
I was
hooves and
thinking
horns.
Clyde from our game. Never mind.
Oh no.
No.
Um,
Wait, there's a Clyde?
in one thing that I read for Anna, there is a Clyde who is obsessed with
Oh.
blowing shit up, and he's a
Oh,
Heron. Actually,
Funny boy.
bit of lore for the rest of the world. Clive is Flint's eldest uncle. Is Lady Flint's eldest uncle. They both hail from the same
Oh.
Harengon family of people who love to shoot things and bloated things up. Okay, cool. So, you guys get there in record time. As you disembark, you can see that there's a bit of an entourage kind of standing off to the side, and as you guys start to like disembark,
Mhm.
they kind of detach from this like smaller building where you can see like kind of guards are coming from. Blackbridge Prison's main wall goes up about 50 to 60 stories. And there's one
Mhm.
entrance, this giant set of clad iron gates. That as you get closer, your teeth are buzzing with the magical wards that are coming off of those things.
Mhm.
The man in front of this entourage, actually, hold on. Is an older gentleman, only in the resemblance of the wispy white beard and bald pate that he rocks. The rest of him is adorned with silver and iron armor and a shield and greatsword as he walks toward you. This ombre black in the hood and shoulders that goes out to this navy blue cloak billows behind him as he and maybe 3 other what you can only describe as guards kind of walk
Mhm.
forward. One of them, and unfortunately I couldn't get the 3 guards, but I'll describe them real quick. All 3 of them, like if you would name them by looking at them, their names from the aesthetic are Chad, John, and Paul. Just because the 3 of
Ew.
them are
Ew.
the blandest looking men that you have ever set eyes on, only in the sense that they all just kind of look bored. Chad is
Mhm.
about 6.5 feet tall. He looks to be rocking about 400 pounds of almost solid muscle, very wide set. He's got shaved on the sides and in the back, big flop of curly brown hair that comes down and covers one of his eyes. Full beard, and he's got like this like mace and shield rig kind of deal. There's a blonde one in the middle, blue eyes, roguishly handsome. He's got a bit of a 5 o'clock shadow thing going on. Clock's about 6 feet tall.
Is it Chad?
Huh?
You said, is that Chad?
He looks like it because he's the only one who looks bored but is still smiling. And he is rocking a long sword, but there's also a set of throwing knives across his belt. The
Okay.
last one has his hood kind of like the first guy pulled up. And there's a big heavy crossbow on his back, and his arms are crossed, and his face is mostly in shadow, but you can see he is ghostly pale with a set of freckles across his nose, very dark, like almost midnight black, very pointed beard as he kind of steps forward, and the 4 of them step forward, and the picture of the man who I just dropped in chat.
Mhm.
Uh, okay, cool. Did you see it?
Yeah.
Cool. I realized I didn't say that I was dropping another photo.
No.
Is steps forward and he goes, Lord Star. And Bernard steps forward, looks up at him, and gives him a grin, and the silver grill is on full display. And he
Yep.
goes, Warden Grimm, it's been a while. And he goes, Yes, and here I thought the next time I would see you was back here in your old uniform and cuffs. I see you've brought the entirety of your motley crew and brood back. That being said, I must say the Beast is a new addition. Desdemona, you've been off to the side, and as soon as you disembarked, Clyde was up your ass, like legit, like foot, like like you had to like duck the horn on that side of his head a couple of times. You were just like, okay, and now that he's like getting scritches again, as he was promised, he's like chilled again. Um, the one thing you've clocked as you guys kind of stepped forward and met this entourage that met you guys, the little halfling looks pretty young. Like very much like barely out of manhood. And the other thing that you clock is that he looks incredibly depressed. Like he like in like very like sad, wishes he like wasn't visible and wishes he could just kind of disappear.
No, you did, Cal.
Okay.
You did.
And you
Um.
have also kind of noticed that
Let
one
me have it.
hand at all times, no matter where the bow is, whether it's on his back or in one of his hands, is like very tightly gripping a handful of Clyde's fur.
Circle what actually happened.
Mhm.
Circle, tell me now.
Okay. Whenever we like disembark or whatever, I will like lean down to him and I just go, I'm really sorry. I didn't know he would. I didn't mean to disrupt your.
And the halfling like takes a second and then realizes you're talking to him, and he just kind of goes, "Oh, that's that's fine." Clyde gets excited most of the time. He won't make eye contact with you, and his face is bright red. And as she kind of walks by, Lady Flint resheathing her holsters just kind of goes, "For the love of God, just because it's got breasts doesn't mean you have to have a panic attack. She's just another sentient creature. You can talk normal." And you can see that he gets mad, but like he also won't look at or talk to Flint either.
Why is there a child? Okay, it's fine.
Why is there a kid? Why is there a kid? But as you guys are standing there, you can see that there is more than just the words being exchanged between your husband and obviously Warden Grimm, the man.
No, I'm paying attention to all of this.
And you can see that the two of them are deciding whether or not that they're going to make themselves the other one's problem in this moment right now.
Mhm.
And he goes,
As that whole standoff is going on, I will step forward and prestidigitation all of the hair off of my person that I'm assuming I got because I was scritching a bison.
oh, dear. Actually, surprisingly enough, he doesn't shed.
Oh, never mind then. I won't do that. But I'll just kind of brush that off and I will step forward. And I just go, yes, I believe you summoned us all here to speak on behalf of one of your prisoners.
As you step forward and the three men behind the main dude notice you, two of them just kind of like, but the one with his hood up and the beard looks at you, looks down at Bernard, and just kind of goes. And you what? Like, it's not like a hot lady. It's not a fuck you, Bernard. It's just a, I clocked that and I'm taking note. You look at this dude's eyes. This man's intelligence is on par with yours. That being said, you are currently surrounded by the beasts of below, so the bar is not that high. But you're watching a man who is very cold and very calculated, like in the sense where, like, if you went up against him academically, you'd actually have to work.
Okay.
And he locks eyes with you for half a second and just kind of gives you a quick nod of acknowledgement to be like, okay. And then he just kind of goes back to kind of staring off into the middle distance as the thing. You feel some weird magic not try and actually impact you, but it kind of like grazes over your overall aura as he like his eyes kind of go over you and he just kind of goes, all right. And then he kind of looks away.
Thanks, I hate it. Thanks, I hate it. And just go, yes, I would like a few items of information before we actually testify. I don't know if you are the person who would be able to get me that information or not.
The older gentleman turns to you and kind of narrows his eyes and he goes, Lady Star, I'm presuming.
You presume correctly.
I'm not sure what you believe your purpose is here, but you are only to speak on Mr. Ironsweep's overall character at the trial that will be held before his final verdict tomorrow. I don't know where you were led to believe that there will be anything surrounding an invasion performed by yourself and your current companions, but that is simply not the case. You were called here as a courtesy to the relationship the defendant currently shares with your husband.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I had to go hunting to see if your husband was still alive, because we haven't heard anything of his whereabouts for a little over a decade. But once we knew what we were looking for, it was pretty easy to find him. We just had to follow the reanimated corpses. And that last sentence is barbed.
Mm-hmm. 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 And I just smile very sweetly. And I say, yes, I am aware of that. But in order for him or us, or if you won't let me speak, then him, to make those statements precisely and accurately, which I'm sure you want because you're doing this so well and following every procedure possible, I will need a copy of the arrest report. Or if you would prefer to give it to my husband can get a copy of the arrest report, please.
I think I speak for both me and Mr. Starr that if we ever come into contact again, murdering each other will be the baseline of the reaction we have. And Bernard just kind of looks up at him and just smirks. Your husband is he is tensed up worse than a bowstring. He wants to hurt this man.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to hurt this man real bad. And it's not just because this man is, in the few minutes that you've known him, a pompous jackass. It's personal. Something else happened at some point in time that Bernard decided, oh, I'm gonna kill this fool. And he goes, but again, I don't see how reading over the incident report will tell you anything that I wasn't very promptly willing to extend to you in my correspondence and invitation.
Well, if it's no new information, then it won't be any trouble for you to give it to me. And I smile very sweetly.
You can see that the three men behind this guy are starting to kind of tense up, because what is, roll insight for me real quick.
That is
Hell yeah.
a 24.
Hell yeah. Let's
Okay,
go.
I'm going to give you the vibe of the three men standing behind him, and then I'm going to give you the vibe of the bearded pompous jackass that's standing in front of them. The three gentlemen behind you,
Yeah, give me.
on some level, ranging from the highest to the big brunette and the lowest for the little guy in the hood, are on some level scared right now. And as you watch their eyes track, it's because they're looking at Bernard and they're looking back to your face and they're watching the interaction you're having with their boss, obviously. Bernard has a reputation at this place, and it's obviously one that has made it that the fact that these three men are in leaping distance of here has put them on high alert. His apparent betrothed is standing flat-footed, looking at their boss in the face and basically going, yeah, I don't care about procedure, I need that report. And doesn't seem to be taking the hint that if he were a more forward and blunt man, he would have just told her no. And very obvious that if he had told her no, you would have made it clear that you don't care that the answer is no, you need that report. These three men are looking at what they believe to be the boogeyman and the boogeyman's wife. And they don't want to be here right now.
Correct.
The man in front of you is annoyed in the sense that he has found another person who seems to have inherited Bernard's stubborn streak and is significantly more eloquent with their words than he is. So while you are obviously looking down, and this man's like 6'7", 6'8", so he's not that much shorter than you. But he still has to look up to you because in most settings everybody does. And it doesn't help that on a normal day you're also in heels.
Okay.
But you are watching him on some level do what he knows is his job. And when it comes to you, it's not personal. He doesn't know you. But at the same time, in the broader scheme of this, you are a civilian who has been brought into this space to testify against something that, as far as he is concerned, is a done deal. While he is not the one who barked the orders to make sure that this was all done by the book, he's going to make sure that it is done as such. And the fact that you're trying to throw a monkey wrench into it right now and don't really have much respect for who you're talking to or where you're currently standing is starting to annoy him. Bernard is matching his energy in the sense that as this man's annoyance is climbing, Bernard is imperceptibly starting to lean forward onto the balls of his feet. And he's looking up at this dude's face that's just like, dude, say something wonky or sideways to my wife. Give me one good reason, and I give me half an excuse, and I swear to God that I will.
Cool.
So, yeah, on that insight, these three men don't want to be standing here. They're standing within leaping distance of what they believe could take Blackbridge apart if he wanted to. And a woman that will back him and is crazy enough to have married his ass. The guy in front of you is just like, if it comes down to it, I will kill each and every one of you where you stand right the fuck now. And I won't blink. I'll go back to my office and finish my coffee. So the two of you are sitting there and you're staring at each other. You with the most gorgeous and yet most fakest of smiles plastered on your face. And him sitting there with this grim expression of like, if I have to actually argue with this woman or get anything remotely like rude, the little man standing next to her is going to get violent with me. And that's going to be a mess and paperwork for everybody. And he goes, again, I'm not sure where you believe you have any right to show up and make demands. You were called here out of courtesy to speak on the character of Warwick Ironsweep, and I don't think seeing a report on a crime and a murder is going to help solidify or I'm well aware of how Bernard feels about Warwick. At that exact moment, the little guy in the hood standing behind him kind of twitches and out of reflex, like does one of these. And you can see as his face kind of comes out of shadow of his hood, there's a pretty rough scar that goes up, like literally barely misses his eye and recedes into his hairline. Bernard takes his eyes off the guy to look at that one real quick and just smirks. And
Insight.
Yeah.
I think I know what this is about, but I just want to make sure that Desdemona will clock it. It's a dirty 20.
Dirty 20. Bernard almost punched that dude's ticket the last time he was here.
Okay.
And that guy and the fact and with the reaction he had and the timing of what Grim was saying, it was over Warwick. So you can only assume that this guard was being disrespectful or put Warwick in danger, or probably, back when Bernard was younger, stupider, and significantly more impulsive, maybe just looked at Warwick weird. And Bernard went, "Oh yeah, we doing this? Okay, fucking bet, dude, let's roll." And got up in this dude's face, and you can see the scar. It goes through his jugular, so it was close.
Cool. Question.
Yes.
Is there anyone above this man, or is this like the head of the fucking prison?
He is not the head of the prison. He leads the wardens, who are the overall, basically military branch that has been tasked with guarding both this building and making sure that the prisoners outside of it cannot get out. So while I think you would know enough to know that he has higher ups, I don't think you would know where to start looking for them.
Okay, cool. That's fine. I just needed to know if I could pull the "Get Me Your Manager" card.
Oh man, now I kind of want to give Desdemona her Karen moment now. God damn it. Only because I would find it entertaining and Bernard would kind of be turned on a little bit. But that's a pretty low bar. Desdemona exists and Bernard is happy about it.
Desdemona will take a deep breath, not through her teeth, but basically through her teeth. And then just go, I am asking if I could please see the arrest report for this incident, because it pertains to the statement both my husband and myself are going to be making for you later today. And I thought, because you are a reasonable man who wants to do this, again, in your words, by the book, that this would be a fairly simple and non-difficult request. Hell, if you just want to take me to where it is and stand over my shoulder while I read it, that's perfectly acceptable as well. I would just like a copy of it before the trial.
Madam, I only have 3 people in my employ who could stand over your shoulder while you read that report, of which I am not one. Secondly, doing it by the book is exactly how I am doing it. Notice how I am not letting mere pedestrians get their hands on confidential information. And thirdly, and before he can speak, the burly one behind him kind of takes a step forward and goes, I don't know who you think you are, but the boss told you no. At the end of the day, we all do our jobs, and we're pretty damn good at it. And Bernard, looking at the short one again, goes, you're decent. And you watch the big guy bristle and look down at Bernard. You can tell that this man gets up, walks around, rides, and skips on the power of his own ego. And while you are looking at him, he's very powerfully built. Like he's not he's big, and he's very well balanced, and he's obviously a combatant of some sort. But he also looks to be not all that smart because he's currently mouthing off to Bernard and doesn't seem.
Yeah.
You've seen that the fear is kind of switched off as he sat here and done what he considers to be wasting his time.
Arrest reports aren't confidential, are they? That's me to the DM.
Unless you are directly related to the person that the arrest report was done for. Yeah, you can't just walk in and ask to see it. If you squint much harder, Quinn, you're not going to be able to see.
No, I'm just...
Would you mind rolling me a d20 very quickly?
Yeah. Do I get to add anything to it?
Nope.
It's a 15.
15? Cool. Desdemona, you clock it about a second before Warden Grimm does. But off to your left, about 15 feet, there is this weird, the only way I can say it is self-righteous thrum of magic.
Mm-hmm.
And as you and Grimm kind of turn, while Bernard and this younger dude are currently staring daggers at each other, there is this very distinct, like, thump, and a portal is opened in space and time. 3 figures step through. One of them is as tall as you. The other one is only about a foot taller than Bernard, and the third is a dog the size of a pony. The dog is gray, shabby, like you can't see his eyeballs, just a big old wet nose, and a mouth with teeth that are a little too large. And there's this like viridian dark, like light blue and like dark purple light that emanates off what can only be described as a mane of fur around his neck. The woman stepping through is in half plate, and she is an Aasimar. You can watch as she steps through as her wings kind of fold in and tuck behind her into 2 parts of her armor that are obviously meant to hold them when they are not out and in use. The incredibly tall man that steps through is in traveling leathers and chainmail and rocks only a wizard staff tall enough to comfortably walk with, and a set of like Eskrima sticks that are hanging off of his belt on this side, and a revolver that puts Lady Flintstew to shame. The power that kind of ripples off of these 3 is enough for you to kind of go, yeah, if me and Bernard had to fight them, I think it would be a toss-up.
Okay.
I think somebody would have to get lucky to sink it. And as he steps forward, the gentleman goes, hey there, Warden. How are we doing today? The Warden looks even more upset to see this man than he was to see Bernard.
Okay.
And he goes, Inspector. And he goes, yeah, it's really funny how I was here like maybe 3 days ago, and you told me that I couldn't look in to what was going on around here because I didn't have that legal and royal warrant. But it's funny that you should mention this because I got it. And he goes in his breast pocket and he holds a scroll out, and you can only see it because you're tall enough that as the warden opens it and reads it, you can read it upside down. It is a royal seal, to to kind of that gives this man, as you read it upside down, one Henry Draken, Chief Inspector, and
To be fair, you were warned.
and his companion, Kelly McDonough, to search the premises and inspect the murder of one now deceased High Priestess Meredith. It also says in fine print down in the scrawl, and company. And he kind of looks at you as the only person who's on his eye level, and he goes, "Nice to finally meet you guys. You ready to go and get some of this shit done?"
Yes, please.
And
And
the
I hand out my hand to him like this, and I just go, Lady Desdemona Starr, I don't believe we've officially been introduced.
Inspector Henry Draken. Very nice to meet you, man.
Very-
And he bows over your hand. You can see the little ASMR woman's got her arms crossed. She just kind of rolls her eyes. And he goes, "I'm glad to see that the rest of my deputized companions have made it here." Bernard and the rest of the beasts below are looking up at this dude like, "What the fuck is happening?" Like Bernard has completely foregone his hatred of Warden Grimm to be like, "Who the fuck is tall man telling me that I'm part of his company? I don't get what?" And then he looks over at you to and in your head you hear him, "Did you plan something without telling me?"
No, but just go along with it.
What? And Bernard looks up at him and he goes,
Go along with it, if only because we can't take them outright in a fight right now.
"I could take him."
Darling.
You can see on his face Bernard is sitting on his ego so hard right now.
Save your energy for the people you actually know more about and have established hatred for.
I know
Unknown.
everything about the self-righteous pompous jackass.
This
Probably
one?
Warden Grimm?
No, the inspector. That's what I was talking about.
I know who he is.
Save him for later.
Mm-hmm.
Focus. We got to get Warwick out, and he's helping. So
He goes, and you can see as the warden reads over this note, his knuckles are turning stark white as he just grips this piece of paper. And you watch Hank kind of like reach over like this with like two fingers, and he's like, "Hey, careful, we wouldn't want that to get damaged. I still need that." The overall just pompousness off this guy, like you can tell that this dude's just used to peacocking and being annoying.
Mm-hmm.
And the little ASMR lady is just kind of standing there with her arms crossed, just kind of waiting, like with a look on her face of just like, "I'll wait for you to be done." And at that point in time, the inspector looks down at your husband and he goes, "Mr. Starr?" And he goes, "Inspector." And he goes, "I'm assuming that you would like to get this done post haste." And he's just like, "Yes." And he looks at the warden and he goes, "Warden, do you have some kind of conference room where we could all go and sit and kind of talk about brass tacks for this?" And Warden Grimm just kind of through his teeth goes, "But of course."
Oh, do you have the copy of the arrest report, or did you need him to go fetch one? And I say that to the inspector.
If looks could kill, you'd be dead right now. If this man had like power word death, he would have unloaded it in your face at point blank range. And he kind of takes his eyes back to you and he just goes, "Very well." And he kind of steps off and like motions for you guys to follow. And you know, the Inspector Draken walks right after him, kind of with a little bit, not a full skip in his step. At this point in time, however, there is a bit of a scuffle as Bernard steps in to like go into step, kind of like off of you, but also off of Hank. And he happens to step into the little ASMR lady's thing. And as he goes to glance at her and clock it, there is a crack of sound as her fist connects with the side of his head. And Bernard, while he like doesn't like fall on his ass, it rocks him enough to be like, and he goes, McDonough. And she looks at Bernard and goes, I haven't forgotten. I'm going to play nice because we need to get somebody who, again, happens to be inconvenienced simply due to the fact that they are within your orbit. But let me make this abundantly clear. One of these days, you're going to make another mistake, and I will be there to put you 7 feet under. And Bernard kind of looks at her, still like kind of reeling from the strike. You can tell that there was a lot of power behind that punch.
Mm-hmm.
And as you're looking at her, there's not a wasted ounce of flesh on this woman. She's compact.
Mm-hmm.
And Bernard, unlike most other people who get physical with him, kind of just nods and goes, I understand. And he continues to walk on and like proceeds to kind of write her off and ignore her. For that split second that you see her looking at the side of your husband's head, this woman hates him. She hates him in a way that is biblical. Like God's wrath. Like if she knew that she could get away with it right now, she'd try and kill him. Is there anything Desdemona would like to do on their walk over and through the gates?
Um, I got hit with so much information. Don't know where to start. Have the 3 lackeys followed us?
Mm-hmm.
The short one in the hood with the
Yes.
magic.
Yep.
Where's he?
He has fallen into step. They kind of have like surrounded your group in a diamond with Warden Crawford at the front. Big burly brunette is on the left, blonde is on the right, Hood's in the back.
I will say in my husband's head, do you know the name of the one in the hood?
Who, Duncan? Yeah.
I'm assuming that's the one that got you 2 extra years in here.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you know he was magical?
Oh yeah. No, he's real. He's a creep.
Okay.
Well, what's the problem?
Sorry, no, this is Quinn's mindset. Desdemona for a split second contemplates telling Bernard that he grazed her aura just to see what Bernard would do, but I'm not gonna do that. Because that would just result in him dying. I will hang back. I would like to try and talk to Duncan.
Real quick, as you talk to Bernard, because even when you get like he knows that you're trying to be inconspicuous, but Bernard's looking at your face. Roll
Mm-hmm.
roll performance real quick to see if you can ask innocently about the little man without alluding to the fact that something happened.
Wait. Sorry, I was writing notes. Repeat that.
You're fine. You have just asked your husband about somebody who obviously he has beef with. That same
Yes.
person used magic to kind of clock you and learn something about
Yes.
you. Roll to
Yes.
see if that part doesn't show on your face while you're asking him who that guy was.
Got it. Okay. I'm assuming, is that like deception? Or do you want to make like a wisdom saving throw? That's what I've been doing for like.
Let's go with deception. Let's go with deception.
That's decidedly worse. That
Ooh.
is a 14.
Bernard, like he's like kind of like half paying attention because there are people around him, and he's obviously
Right.
walking back into a place that he doesn't like.
Like,
Obviously he served time here, and as you walk in, you hit this wall of just just this magical feeling of decay and despair and hopelessness as you enter a place where people obviously are sent to be forgotten and to die by inches and slowly.
yeah.
And you watch all of the beasts below's shoulders kind of hunch in on themselves as they all obviously get hit with the memories that they have all collectively shared, both as a group and as the individuals, as their time spent in this place.
Mm-hmm.
And like Alma, who's usually got a pretty cocky grin on, everybody like has kind of been shooting the shit. They all kind of go quiet. And while you do that, you feel a weird pulse of magic from Warden Grimm and his three compatriots. It's very obvious that there's something about them where the overall vibe of this place doesn't touch them. The four of them are fine.
Ew.
Um,
Ew. Hate that. Ew.
um,
Ew. Do I get it? Or do I just
uh,
notice all of this?
you notice it. I'm going to rationalize it with this. You deal with dead, decay, and creepy stuff all the time. This is basically something that Desdemona in her mind just kind of notices and goes, "Okay, cool." But like, also like, you dealt with a prison that could be leaps and bounds worse than this, simply due to the fact that the warden of the prison you grew up in made you his own personal project.
Right.
So this is a like universal, like, this place is built to break you slowly
Mm-hmm.
and like fuck with your mind. And as you enter, you start to hear it. You can hear like whips as like you can see up on parapets and like staircases prisoners lined up and chained together like 20, 30 and they're just being like, anybody who moves even remotely too slow is like whipped and beaten by like wardens in black, who you can see these three men that are with you, with the exception of Warden Grimm, are obviously in the out of their helmets. Not a single guard or warden you see is with it doesn't have their face covered. So it dehumanizes the tormentors of the
Mm-hmm.
prisoners here. And as you
Mm-hmm.
watch this little halfling, not child, but like very, very young man stumbles and like fully gets like pulled, like as he gets grabbed, you see his shackles fall off as a warden just grabs him by the front of his shirt and in a metal gauntlet just hauls off and decks him in the face and then just kind of leaves him there as the line keeps progressing. And this guy is left to whimper and like pick up like two teeth and like deal with a broken nose by himself. Only to kind of like get back into line as two guard dogs being led by another warden get a little too close and like try and lunge at him and savage him, and he jumps up and runs back over to the line that he was a part of, and a new set of magical shackles kind of extend out from the end of the line and reattach him as he continues to go, now like bent double, dealing with the fact that he's bleeding out of two orifices in his face.
Mm-hmm.
um but Bernard, out of all of this, like kind of sinks and then kind of looks at you as you ask him those questions, and you watch him make the decision to be strong for his wife in this moment. He makes the call. He's just like, I know you're scared, and I know this sucks. But at the same time, you brought your wife to this place. If you get too much in the oh, woe is me mindset, you might miss something. She will get hurt, and that is unacceptable. Figure it out. And as he looks at you and you roll that not great number, he looks at you, he sees it, and in his mind, you just hear him go, "What?"
I don't think it's cause for alarm yet, but he does know, at least to some extent, that I'm magical.
How?
So magicians have like a fingerprint or like a smell, and like
Okay.
he registered mine at the same time that I registered his.
Okay. Bernard's like looking at your face to see if you feel uncomfortable. Like he's like
Right. He's looking for a reason.
Yeah.
I want to talk to him. So I'm gonna go try and do that.
Okay. Go for it.
Are you okay? I mean I know you're not okay, but are you okay?
I'll be all right. This place is horrible. It's a lot of
I love
not
you.
great memories. I love you too. I mean, you can see that kind of gave him something to focus on that isn't bad.
Mhm. Um, one other thing that I say that he will get from Desdemona before she kind of like switches like around in the crowd. Um, the look that Bernard had when they had like reached the top of the Ivory Spire. She gets something similar in her eyes, in like a, I don't know, like it's probably not going to be today, but somewhere somehow I am going to tear this place apart brick by fucking brick. Like that's how she kind of
Bernard clocks it, and wow, and you only see it because he looks away, but as he looks away, he kind of grins in a way that only a husband who is immensely proud of the wife that he has, like a very, like in a very non-condescending way, being like, that's my wife.
that's
Yep,
my wife.
yep, yep. I did that. I did that. But yeah, no, you kind of slow down until you're like at the back of the group. Duncan is walking maybe another 10 feet behind you guys. Obviously getting space, and you watch as you like clear the back of the group and keep trying to slow down. He matches you, so he keeps the same distance.
Mhm.
And as he notices that you're kind
Okay.
of doing it on purpose, you see him out of the corner of his eye. His arm kind of drops to a place where you can see there's like a hitch on his bandolier that can swing that crossbow around, so that instead of like it being strapped to his back, he can be holding it.
Mhm.
And he's
Here's the
kind of
thing.
just like, go for it.
No, I was just gonna say, when I had made this plan to go talk to him, I had a question in mind that I was gonna open with, and now I don't remember that question. So I'm gonna need a second to remember what I was gonna say.
Duly noted.
Continue
Um,
your continue with your description.
I will give you this. The moment that he takes his eyes off of what you now can see, his eyes, up until he noticed you kind of starting to slow down, were locked on the back of Bernard's head.
Mm-hmm.
There is a personal vendetta that you're not quite sure he's not dumb enough to try to punch, to like, he's not dumb enough to try and punch that ticket while Bernard is
Mm-hmm.
obviously here.
Mm-hmm.
This is a man who has been sitting on what he believes to be an egregious wrong upon his personage for
Mm-hmm.
as long as Bernard has not been here. And now that Bernard is back, he might be able to get a bit of his own back.
Question. Was there anything as I was crossing the wards that I would have registered would have prevented me from casting magic?
No.
Okay. I Is he how far away from me is he right now?
He's about 10 feet behind you, and he's off your left shoulder.
Okay.
out of bed for eating crackers.
I glance over at him to make sure I have his attention,
You do.
and then I will just go, you don't like my husband, Duncan. And it's not like a question, it's just a statement.
He blinks real quick at the fact that you know his name, and he hasn't heard anybody in this group say it out loud. And then you watch him very quickly recover it in the sense that he's just like, didn't know she was aware of me, but okay, fine. And he says, and as he speaks, you realize that whatever Bernard did to his face, it fucked up his voice.
Okay.
What probably was an incredibly resonant baritone is now tainted by the fact that there's gravel in it.
Mm.
And he goes, yes, I don't particularly like him very much. He was one of the more, how do you people say it, ornery
Lord have mercy.
cellmates on the block that I worked back when I was another warden.
Yeah.
And while he didn't fight or get into trouble, he had a presence around him which just kind of extended to others and made others defiant of the authority that we have here.
I don't even know.
Are you going to kill him?
As soon as I get the chance.
Ooh, I like that.
Well, for your sake, I hope you're a bit more powerful than you were the last time you took a pot shot at him. And then I will catch back up to the group.
You hear him chuckle as you walk away, and that's kind of all you get out of him.
Okay.
You guys head for a building kind of offset. As you guys enter, you see that a lot of the buildings for people who work here are like on the inside of this prison. Like you walk by like barracks and like stuff where obviously wardens are taking time off. You also walk by and look through, can see through like this chain fence. A set of like very odd estate apartment buildings where like you can see children playing and like people like just like going about like a normal day in like a smaller like like I say smaller, this island is about like this
It's
island is
fucking huge.
Madagascar size.
I was gonna say it's in fucking Manhattan.
But you can see like there's a part of it that seems to be very normal, and you notice the magic that holds despair of this place kind of stops at that fence as it extends out over what you can see are miles upon miles of what look like normal city.
Mm-hmm.
And as you walk, you hear the inspector Draken. He's just like, housing for all of the staff members at Blackbridge Prison's families.
How charming!
They can't fucking see.
They believe in keeping their staff close to their work.
Mm. Desdemona does not mumble something under her breath, but
Well, I tried. What?
It's one of the saddest things about this place. Once you sign on, you don't really sign off. They don't really have a mind of their own. I've known of a couple of wardens who have worked 12 doubles in a row, nonstop. And in that time, while you are on your shift, you are not permitted to take your helmet off.
No! Fuck!
There are wardens who I've met who have worked with the same partner for years. They have no idea what each other's faces look like. This pace takes sentient creatures and drops them back down to the lowest level of existence. As soon as they get their helmet, they no longer have a voice of their own.
I see.
Um. Desdemona doesn't say anything.
As you guys head for this like 3-story building, you guys all enter. It's very, very obviously like a meeting space. There's a long table, um, and you get ushered in. And you watch the 4 wardens kind of post up around the only entrance and exit to this building. But you all file in. The inspector kind of walks in and he goes, "All right." And the door gets shut, and you watch him kind of do something with his hand, and you feel this pulse of magic, and you know that whatever gets said in here isn't going to carry. And he goes, "All right, cool. Now that we're in here, we can all get down to brass tacks. Um, Karen, I do understand that you don't like the man, but his wife was standing right there. Try not to upset her, please. I would rather not tangle with another wizard who obviously is enough of a problem to have married Bernard Starr." Um, the little ASMR woman just kind of crosses her arms and like just grimaces.
For what it's worth, I'm sure you're perfectly justified, but I would prefer to keep him alive for now.
The lady looks up at you with absolute venom in her face and she goes, "I've watched your husband for over 30 years hurt people for no other purpose than the fact that he was getting paid. Can you even begin to fathom the families he's torn apart, the children he's ripped away from mothers and fathers, the children who have no mothers and fathers, the people he's crippled, and the lives he's destroyed? Because I, for one, as an inspector of this region, know that body count. And last time I checked, it was 6 digits before that decimal point. Your husband is a scourge upon the stain that is sentient creatures as far as I am concerned. He is a bane upon good, well-to-do people, and he kills simply due to the fact that he enjoys it. I don't care if mommy didn't show up for him at his baseball games. I don't care if daddy didn't hug him enough as a child. Your husband has little to no excuse for the things that he has done. He is evil incarnate. And anyone who associates with him knowing exactly what he's done, as far as I'm concerned, is no better.
Oh,
Do not speak to me."
Oh. Ooh, hang on. Ooh.
And she sets her feet and goes back to staring into the middle distance. You notice that all of the beasts of below, despite being disbanded for roughly 20, 30 years, have all bristled and have taken very obvious notice of this little ASMR woman.
Mm-hmm.
Except for Bernard, who for the first time since you heard him, got insulted and degraded to his face and kind of
And
just stood there and took
just took it. Yeah. I was afraid you were going to say that.
You're just like, "God damn it, somebody insulted my husband and I want to do mean shit, but it looks like they're valid, so damn it."
I mean, everyone who insults my husband is valid. I just don't give a shit about their opinions.
I mean this in the most respectful way possible. That's the most psychopathic thing I think you've ever said in relation to Desdemona.
Huh?
No. Let me make it clear. We haven't said it out loud, but like Desdemona crazy. Like if like I don't you don't marry Bernard Starr with a fully developed frontal lobe. Like that's not how that happens. And you watch the chief inspector kind of look at her, look at you, and go, "Apologies for my partner. She's incredibly opinionated and very passionate about the work that we do."
Apparently. I'm willing to overlook all of that for the time being. Sorry, I'm just
What's up?
nothing. Ugh. Desdemona really doesn't like her.
That's okay.
It's fine. It's fine. I know it's fine, but I'm upset now. And she just goes, I'm willing to overlook that right now. My husband is not the one on trial here. Ward is innocent.
Are you stating that as a fact, or are you stating our goal?
I'm stating that as a fact. I am telling you right now he is innocent, so whatever we uncover, we need to figure out who actually did this.
Well, if you know
Because
that
it
to
wasn't
be,
him.
well, then if you know that to be a fact, present your evidence, and we can go home early. Because I can tell you right now, I hate this place. I hate coming here. But at the same time, Blackbridge has done shady shit since it was founded. So I'm regularly called back here to call bullshit on the people that run this place. And while I have found a couple of things, and people have been fired or vanished by their own people. Like there was an underground fighting ring here a couple decades back, where prisoners were being offered time off of their sentences to kick the shit out of each other and eventually start killing each other for the entertainment of the wardens here. Those higher ups have been disbanded, and all of the wardens are personally now serving time here. Not a single one of them survived more than 2 years, simply due to the fact that they were swapping gold to watch the inmates who they now shared cells with die for their entertainment. You watch as he says that, just kind of inadvertently, Bernard kind of runs his hand over the knuckles on his left hand, which are scarred to hell. Like Bernard's covered in scars. But it's a self-conscious effort, and you clock enough to see that Bernard is deep in his own head right now, reliving nightmares.
How close am I to Bernard?
You can be standing or sitting right next to him.
Okay, cool. Is there a way for me to discreetly touch him?
Not really.
Like on a knee?
Not really. There's 4 feet of height between you. You had to take a knee earlier to wrap your arm around his shoulder to make sure he didn't jump Warden Grimm.
Oh, that's fair. But if we were like sitting, I can't just put like a hand on his knee or something like that?
Oh, yeah, no. If you guys are sitting, then yeah, you can.
Okay, I'll just say we're all sitting.
Yeah, no, you guys are all kind of sitting around the conference table. Bernard's on your
Draken
right.
can be standing so I can look up at him. That's fine.
Shut up. Shut up.
You realize I just said that to get that reaction.
Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck off.
But also, like, I wouldn't mind doing that. Anyways,
shut up. Jesus.
I don't know what I am being so well behaved right now, Izzy.
It's only because it's Desdemona. If Revel was here, you'd have gotten buck nasty 30 minutes ago.
It's true. Anyways, but as I clock that just under the table, I will put my hand on Bernard's knee.
Okay. Bernard kind of feels the contact, and you can see the level of grateful on his face as he kind of like recenters himself. And go for it.
No, and then I was just gonna say, I understand that you don't like being in this place, and I don't want to stay in here any longer than we have to, but one, now that they have him, I don't think that they are so easily going to let him go with the alibi that he does actually have. And second, even if we do bring that to light, several people who are innocent and not very well defended could be put in a very grave amount of danger, and both myself and Warwick are not willing to make that sacrifice at this point in time. And thirdly, that would mean that somebody who is capable of dropping down a massive amount of wards and killing a high priestess is
You
just
thought it
out
would be
there.
this far, but I did.
Bernard, you watch Bernard kind of watch you talk. You watch the inspector kind of look at you, clock your intelligence, and give you a bit of a nod, and he goes, "Glad to see that at least one person in here still got their head screwed on tight." You see the little ASMR woman snap her head up to him and give him a look like, "I'll take you out of both kneecaps, dog. Fucking try me right now. I'm in a bad fucking mood." You can see that he did it for the sole purpose of like annoying. You can
Yeah.
tell that their relationship is him just kind of annoying her and her checking him. Um, you can also see that this man is very much appreciating what you look like. And it's funny because in this setting, Quinn can't touch him.
It's so mean.
Of course it is.
That's so mean because she is absolutely 1,000% his type. I am so mad about this. Don't think.
I don't.
What? Oh.
Okay, look. Hey. I just build the world. You're the one who walks through it. Okay. It's not my fault that you have a type, and I regularly build and play people who fit the demographic. I play big dumbasses. I don't know what the fuck you want. The only difference right now is that I made her king short because it just fit the vibe. I thought it was funny.
No, I love Bernard. Don't change him. He's amazing.
So, he goes, "You're absolutely correct." Jesus, what the hell is taking them so long? You hear a stumble of hooves as the door opens and Warden Grimm goes, "Please, Chief Secretary, Declan in here, please." And a little satyr with like downy white hair, freckles, and the biggest, most terrified set of blue eyes behind these thick glasses, like stumbles in with like 3 briefcases under his arm and a stack of papers about this tall, and he fumbles it and like goes to fall, and you watch as the inspector kind of waves his hand and everything kind of like is scooped up by a gust of wind and is neatly laid to rest on the table as the satyr just full face plants and just, right behind him is, hold on, this man.
Oh. Ew. Oh, I
What's
hate him.
what's
I
the matter?
hate him.
We don't
I
like
hate him.
we don't
He
like
looks like a cartoon rat villain. Like he looks like he would be brought down by Basil of Baker Street. Like that's
Wow. That's a deep cut. Wow. Okay. This man behind him walks in. He is in full black attire, and you notice that the satyr is too. Both of them look like they're wearing like funeral attire, like
Yep.
black, like very mournful. And you watch as the satyr kind of scrambles to his feet, and he goes, "Oh, thank you, sir." And he stacks it out, and he starts handing out papers like down the table, and he goes, "Incident reports, um, uh, yes, incident reports." The overall file over the murder, pictures from the crime scene, and oh, goodness, I think I'm forgetting something. And you see the man, the elven man who walked in behind him, go,
Mhm.
the briefcases, Declan. He still has them tucked under his arm. And he goes, "Oh, yes, sir." And he hands one to the inspector. He hands one to you.
Okay.
Pardon me, milady. And then he just kind of puts one out in the middle of the table. Um, and the chief inspector looks at the elven man and he goes, "It's Mage Lucian, isn't it?" And the elf turns to him slowly. This man has the eyes of a shark.
I hate him. I hate him. Stab him through the heart.
And he goes, "Yes, it's Chief Inspector Draken. And Inspector McDonough, I presume.
You bitch.
I've heard of your reputation. Last I checked, you two were incredibly messy in your methods. And I don't particularly appreciate your attitude towards my counterparts." As he looks back at Warden Grimm. And Draken gives him the most winning of smiles, and he goes, "My sincerest apologies for the inconvenience, sir, but I was the closest inspector, and I was on duty today." And then you see him kind of take a second and give respect where respect is due. He's like, I will, however, send out my deepest apologies for um, you and yours for your loss. The High Priest and I had our differences, but at the same time, I do feel like we were trying to work the exact same problem from different angles, and I had nothing but respect for your wife. And you watch Lucian kind of blink for a second in surprise. He was ready for him to be a smartass.
Yeah.
And he just kind of blinks, and you see a bit of the hostility go away. And he goes, thank you for your words. She will be missed by all of us. And you look over, the little satyr boy is actively, quietly crying. Like he did just full on, just um. But he's like still being very respectful and quiet and trying to like leave things as neat as possible. But you can see he keeps like kind of picking things up and fumbling them. He doesn't have the most sure of hands. And he almost drops the briefcase that he's handing to you like in your lap instead of on the table in front of you. Um, and he just like, oh, my sincerest apologies, sorry. But he also like can't quite see through the tears that are now behind his glasses. And he's like, he very much like then goes to stand next to Lucian with his hands in front of him, with his eyes
I
cast down.
will before he leaves my vicinity, I will reach into my pocket and take out like an all black like handkerchief and hand it to him.
He fully takes it, like wipes his eyes real quick, and very discreetly, like very much like trying to make sure that the higher ups don't see. But and he gives you a quick little nod of thanks. This poor little satyr man is terrified right now. You can't quite tell why. It might just be a state of being for him. But you can also see a genuine, like doctorate level intelligence behind his eyes. Um, and he goes, as you'll see, every Lucian looks to you and he goes, well, I am not fully convinced that the man currently in prison for the murder of my wife. And on that last word, you hear that word carry weight. Like this man is holding it together because his entire life revolves around keeping a certain level of self-control.
Absolutely no.
This man is one bad day away from being a really big problem. Like BBEG, like party of 6 people level 20 problem. And you can see that as he is talking, he is very much heartbroken, and this is the only way he knows how to show it when people he doesn't know are watching.
Okay.
Roll insight for me real quick.
Happily. It's an 18.
The loss of his wife didn't just cost Mage Lucian the loss of his heart. It has also cost him a majority of his mind. You can see in his eyes that this man's wife was a big port of hope. Like you can just see that, like, even though Warden Grimm is an asshole, and Declan is obviously a quivering wuss, and the other wardens you've seen so far are very stoic and very deliberate in their movements and they don't hesitate, you can gauge that it's not just being a prisoner here that would put wear and tear on you if you were here long term. The staff and the people who run this place, and obviously deal with what are the worst people of the world. Every country sends their worst to Blackbridge. Have obviously seen and experienced enough to keep them jaded, and High Priestess Meredith was this man's chief source of comfort and hope that the entirety of the world doesn't suck. You see
He
in
was
him,
her lighthouse.
yep, you see in him a lot of what Bernard sees in you, in the sense of comfort and safety and the ability to be vulnerable. And now that that is gone, over a marriage that you know for a fact has to dwarf the time that you and Bernard have been together. He doesn't know what to do with himself, and that is slowly driving him nuts.
I will just say telepathically to my husband. Not that I think this is going to make a difference, but I will just go in my head, tread lightly with him.
What the fuck? There's
Oh, I clocked
no
that as soon
way.
as he walked in. I don't think I've ever seen him this upset.
Okay.
And he goes, "While I am
No.
not convinced that the man in prison is the one who murdered my wife, I am open to learning new things. I will make something abundantly clear. As of 24 hours since the time you have arrived, someone will hang tomorrow for the death of my wife. I am feeling deliciously ambivalent as to who that is, and I don't particularly care. If you cause more disruption of this place, of which I have worked very hard to help run and maintain, not only will you become permanent residents here, I will see to it myself personally of the overall conditions of your stay. Desdemona, you know magic.
Mm-hmm.
This man has enough power behind him of his own, wielded by his sheer ironclad will, to make good on that threat.
Mm-hmm.
And it's disturbing because you're not all that sure how sane he is
Mm-hmm.
anymore. And he
Mm-hmm.
turns sharply and he exits the room. Oh,
Can I say something before he leaves?
yep.
How the fuck? There's no fucking way.
I will just give him, like, after he finishes this thing, I will give him a little nod and I would just go, "Thank you for your hospitality, and I am so sorry for your loss."
There's no fucking way. Mm-mm.
He gives you a curt nod. And then his eyes track over to Bernard. And while there isn't hatred or malice or anything, there is a cold calculation in the sense that he knows of your husband.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of an overall vibe going on here. Your husband apparently made a name for himself for the 30 some odd years he was in here.
But yeah, he did because he's fucking amazing.
That's one word. So they leave, and you guys are yet again left alone as the beast of below, you and your husband, maid, the inspector, and the Inspector McDonough as well, along with Mouse, who, like, this room is big enough to where he and Clyde fit comfortably. Clyde has low key gone up and like started to kind of poke Bernard in the hindquarters. And like is doing that like gorilla kind of like laugh noise. As he just kind of
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and Mouse hasn't given him a single inch. Mouse is very respectfully sitting as the inspector kind of goes through stuff, and he goes, "All right, cool, people. Before we start inquiring and asking questions, we need to read absolutely everything that they've done. I will let you know this is absolutely all the information they have, and it is done accurately and it is done fairly. It was done by the Secretary Declan. That man is hell on wheels with paperwork, and he is quite simply the most intelligent and independent accountant and secretary that I have ever met. I have watched that man write at a mile a minute, literally. It's frightening to watch him with an inkwell and a piece of parchment when he really gets going. Do you guys all sit down and kind of read through? Oh,
Quinn wants to make a snarky comment at that, but I'm not going to do that because Desdemona would not say that.
okay.
But just so you know, there is a version of this where someone just said, "Oh, it sounds like someone has a crush." But I don't say that.
Wow. Disrespect.
I will.
I didn't see that.
I will. Yeah, I will. Put the briefcase that I have down, and I will open it up.
Fuck you, Kobo.
You go through things. Police reportings are basically about the same as what Theo told you back at the house. About 4 nights ago, a set of guards. The guard's name. One Warden, M. Gordon.
Warden Gordon.
Was all rushed in upon feeling the magical wards around the
Oh.
high priestess's sleeping chambers fall, and a very violent scuffle happen. All entered to see something short in stature, with some form of bladed weapon, in the middle of finishing what was an incredibly bloody thing. They had to put the high priestess kind of back together.
Okay.
M. Gordon is the only one who survived, and magic couldn't fix everything. He is now permanently blind in both eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And has been removed from duty.
Fuck yeah.
Another thing, leading up to this, kind of as Theo theorized, there's also an overall list of people that could have done this, but none of them
Okay.
fit the profile of as short as the stature as what Gordon reported.
Okay.
All of them, however, correspond with a list of overall I guess the only way you could phrase it is if a list of clients. As Theo said, Lady Meredith was performing rehab for quite a few clients to kind of rehabilitate them. People whose sentences were ending soon, or people who she just believed that if they ever did get out, could have contributed to society in a impactful way that was good. And while she offered this to any and every prisoner and made that clear, and while she got turned down more often than she didn't, one weird one that as you read through, you kind of see Bernard also kind of cock an eyebrow at it. The entirety of the 8 inmates of cell block C were offered it and accepted it, and have been seeing rehab, and are all on a list of people who were well on their way to rehabilitation. The only issue with it is cell block C is one of the ones where people have multiple life sentences. So they weren't doing it to get out.
Okay.
I did it. Fuck you, Kobo.
And Bernard kind of looks down at it, and you watch him like kind of shudder as he gets to that part in the thing as like cell block C is brought up, because like people are kind of talking across the table as everybody kind of reads through this. It also shows. Oh, go for it.
Sorry. No. I was just gonna say I'll clock that for later.
He cell block C is obviously life sentence territory. Like nobody who goes there is going there for anything less than what they have done.
Okay.
So that kind of gets like, so interviewing Gordon and also going and talking to the inmates of cell block C is put down on this like chalkboard as like Draken kind of at the front is like going off of. And but the other thing that kind of strikes you as odd is that the high priestess had 2 kind of chamberlains that are always kind of at your beck and call.
You were cutting out. You were cutting out. I missed all of that.
Hold on. Better? Is this better? Can you hear me now? Am I speaking correctly and well? Okay.
Yeah, I think your Wi-Fi was just laggy for a second.
Okay,
my
cool.
Wi-Fi was just laggy.
The high priestess had 2 not servants, but like people who regularly worked under her.
Okay.
One of them was Declan, because he also happens to be her husband's chief secretary.
Okay.
and the other one was a Sister Crane, who is a lower ranking priestess of the Spire of Light. The
What do we
night,
know about her?
she's young. She seems to have a lot of promise. Has made a name for herself as a very successful healer and cleric. But on the night of her um, mistress, her obvious like her boss's death, um, Sister Crane was nowhere to be found, and she usually is pretty close to her, like in her own sleeping chambers offset of hers. And she didn't show up back to her sleeping quarters until hours later. Her alibi, though shameful, stuck through. She was out on a bit of a nightly jaunts, with whom she did not say.
Oh Lord. Okay.
But it was reported that her overall appearance was one who had been worn ragged, so to speak. Upon that, you see the beast from below all kind of chuckle to each other when you guys get there in the report. And you hear Alma go, these holy hoity-toity people are the first ones to buckle as soon as they know they're getting a piece of ass. And Gangi.
Sorry, my food's here.
Oh, okay.
Devastated.
Sorry, not food, groceries.
Go,
Food
go, go.
still isn't here.
But Gangi off to the side through his 2 rows of shark teeth. You hear like Alma go, these freaking hoity-toity religious folks are the first to buckle once they see a weird piece of ass. And Gangi kind of leans back, and while the loincloth thing covers everything, like he's in danger of exposing himself, and he kind of puts his arms behind his back and he goes, you know what they say. It's even worse if it's exotic. And all of the beasts below guffaw. You see that the chief inspector kind of chuckles to himself. The other inspector, McDonough, just rolls her eyes and gives this look of you can't share a camaraderie with her in this moment about men because the females of the beast below are laughing too. But like
True.
it shares the same zip code of like just fucking barbarians.
Desdemona does kind of roll her eyes. But she will say under her breath, I don't know who's near her that would clock it. But she does just mutter something about the religious ones being the most repressed.
Bernard kind of like does a second, looks up at you, and just goes. That comment cut deep. You don't know why. In the case of your husband, because your husband's not religious. Your husband met a primordial and was kind of just like, whatever.
Oh wow.
But as you guys kind of are starting to like delegate who's going where, because obviously you're not all going as a group to talk to Warden Morgan.
All
or
of them. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The 2 things that you and Bernard get are going and talking to Cell Block C, because as you learn, Cell
We
Block
get
C.
that?
Yeah.
That seems ill-advised, but okay.
As well as inspecting the main crime scene.
Okay.
And looking into what state the high priestess's body is in, because it's still under current. It's still
Cool.
being kept as during this overall investigation.
Okay, I do have several questions.
Yes.
And then body. Okay, cool. Who apprehended Warwick?
It was a contingent of wardens led by Duncan.
I hate that. Okay. Are we going to interview those people?
You can make that a task that you set if you'd like.
I don't think he's going to talk to me, but I will table that. Give me 1 second to write down shit.
Mm-hmm.
When they arrested him, did he have his sword on him? And did they confiscate that?
Yes.
Okay, calm down.
Okay.
To both, yes. Yes to both. Sorry.
Yeah, yes to them. Okay, cool. So I know that magic can be used to identify magic items
Mhm.
and can kind of like read their history and shit. Do I know of magic, maybe not necessarily that I can wield, but that somebody else could wield, that could basically like look up the history of a blade and like see what it was recently used for?
As your DM, all I can ask is, are you asking or talking to anybody about this out loud?
I would have been talking to Draken about this.
God.
Draken. As you
Mhm.
say that, Flint, Lady Flint looks up and she goes, "I can." Most
We
of the
should do
shit
that then.
strapped. Most of the shit strapped to me is enchanted. Who do you think taught Bernard to do it with his shit?
Very nice.
And Bernard, kind of off to the side, goes, "No, she's not. She's very, very good."
Would you be able to do that with his blade?
Yeah, sure. Get if I can get to it, sure.
Can she get to it? And I look at the inspector.
He's just like, we have full access all over this place, except going into active, dangerous inmate cells. Which is one thing I need to make clear to you, Bernard. You know this from Cell Block C. None of you are permitted to go into any of those cells. You will not be allowed to. And the wardens will fight tooth and nail to make sure that doesn't happen. Bernard, you know well enough. The only reason you and Warwick were put on that cell block was as a punishment, simply due to the higher ups not liking your attitudes. And Bernard you watch him kind of turn inward on himself and go like, yeah, no, it was
I'm sure
it
that
was
if I got
horrible.
over there, I could fly over there.
Bernard is not looking forward to going talking to people on Cell Block C.
I don't know why we're getting that one. I mean, I know why we're getting that one, but also I don't know why we're getting that one. Okay. So Lady Flint is examining blade.
Okay.
Who is going to question Gordon?
The two inspectors.
Okay. Um, don't take this question the wrong way. I'm sure you are very good at your job and are very powerful in your own right. Are you planning to read his mind at all?
Goddamn. Okay.
The McDonough bristles immediately. And she gives you a look like, are you fucking insane? And the chief inspector kind of goes, "It, even if that was a part of my wheelhouse, no, I wouldn't do that. Why?"
Just curious.
Smash! Oh my god.
Would you have?
If I needed to.
You watch something in Draken's expression change.
Yep, there it is.
As not even like, it's not, it's subtle enough for you to not go, it's subtle enough to where you can't quite figure out what it is, but it's just a acknowledgement of, okay.
He knows what I do now.
Did you forget you had to pee or something? Oh, we needed to take a lap because Star Wars stuff is happening. Got it.
No, it's just because people are hot. Don't worry about it.
Okay. Hey, if it makes you feel any better, Quinn's struggling.
Mandalorian.
Hey, if it makes you feel any better, I just handed Quinn my version of Harry Dresden on the plate, and she can't, and Desdemona can't touch him. because she's monogamous
You
and
wanna
married.
die?
Huh?
You wanna die? Why do you wanna die?
Quinn's all the way in Texas. They can't strangle me from there.
No, they did the thing. Okay, big burly hot Mandalorian coated man, bowed. Okay, bowed.
Got it.
Got a jetpack. Right. Okay, very Mandalorian coated. Did the like, and then like the fall backwards off the cliff thing.
Mhm.
Very,
Ooh.
very, very. That's very Treasure Planet-esque, and we
Oh.
all know exactly what I'm
Oh, I
talking
know
about.
exactly what you're talking
I
about.
love him.
Gender envy or
Okay.
crush? You decide.
Okay.
God,
Cool. I will leave
stop.
that
Oh, did I
for
say that he's a
later.
loving single father? Have I told you?
But yeah,
I
no,
was not paying attention to that. But whatever.
I wasn't either.
Okay.
My headphones
Alright,
are
Oh
on.
my god.
But as
Okay.
things are starting to go,
Okay.
so Lady Flint and a couple of the Beasts Below are doing that. The rest of the Beasts Below are going to go in spec. Alma's leading another group that's going to go talk to Duncan and the people who apprehended Warug. The two
Okay.
inspectors are going to talk to the only surviving one who survived the initial attack. And
Alma.
mhm.
Before she leaves, I will
Yep.
just snag her to the side and go,
I know
I want to know if he was assigned to that position or if he volunteered.
Who, Duncan?
Yeah.
Duncan for sure volunteered. I know that man's tendencies. He hates every single one of the Beasts of Below for very personal reasons. Just to
Okay.
give you a personal thing, Duncan hates us for a very valid reason. It's a very self-righteous and valid reason. The only reason he became a warden here. He got hired the same time we went in.
Zig, what happened? Oh, Zig.
Because the thing that really spurred him to try and do right and clear his family's name was also the catalyst that spurred him to try and punish all of us while we were in here. We were tasked with disbanding a war band that had crossed a line that we personally do not, and they were trafficking children for all of the wrong reasons that you can probably deduce as a full-grown intelligent person who knows just how horrible a grown adult can be to a child. And the man running that show happened to be Duncan's father. Duncan was unaware. Even so, he still to this day doesn't believe that we should have done what we did to his father, and by default, the shame that we brought to his family. And he has spent every waking moment of his life since that day trying to get the honor of his family back. They were struck from noble records. He's not welcome in any of the major cities with the past alias. I think Bernard just added insult to injury where he made it kind of permanent that he has to wear his hood up.
I just want to. I'm assuming
he was a bit vain and very much aware of how good looking he was. Pale, dark hair, the roguish. He was. I'll give him this much. He was a pretty handsome fella back in the day.
Time to die.
So just remember, just to give you a piece of Beasts from Below lore, Duncan has a reason to not like us. It's just that none of us particularly care.
Sir, you are
Right.
crazy.
Yeah.
I love you. But what the fuck?
Also, DM question: is there somebody that's going to talk to Sister Crane and Declan and clock both of their alibis?
Actually, as you guys are gearing up to leave, Declan is waiting outside, and a young blonde human woman in like a cleric's like robe, like out of armor robes, with the spires like emblem across like her chest, with a very very ornate hood pulled up, is kind of standing there. Her eyes are very bloodshot and puffy. It's very obvious she's been crying for quite a long time, and she and Declan are just kind of like holding hands and like comforting each other as you all leave. Declan is just like, my sincerest apologies, everyone. me and Sister Crane here have been tasked with directing a couple of you. I know that most of you, unfortunately, are quite aware where most of the things in this prison are. But for those of you who aren't or need certain clearance to get into certain areas, unfortunately, we do have to accompany you. Who is being tasked with the High Chief to the High Priestess's body and Cell Block C? And you and Bernard, and you notice Maid also raises her hand. You two are the only people here. Maid, no, she's not leaving you guys.
Right, yeah.
And Declan walks up to the three of you and he goes, "Again, my sincerest apologies for the inconvenience, but unfortunately, Cell Block C's wardens are a little more hardened than others due to just the nature of the inmates they deal with on a day to day. Um, my apologies. Again, he's apologized like 5 times in the same sentence.
Desdemona's just kind of looking at him.
And the more you stare and not talk, the more he starts to fumble.
Mm-hmm.
I will say Desdemona, as this is for more Desdemona than him. For a satyr, he is the closest thing to symmetrical genetic perfection that Desdemona has seen in a very long time. Harvesting this
Don't
boy
tell
could
me
keep
that.
yeah, harvesting this boy could keep you in ample materials and supplies for like 3 months tops. Um,
No, because the moment he came in, I was just like, oh, I haven't taken a satyr skeleton in a while. That's just.
yep, yeah. I clocked it. No, you can say,
Mm.
despite the fact that he is obviously he's a pretty small satyr. He's very well balanced and he's in good shape. It's just the fact you can tell that he's not clumsy because of anything to do with his overall genetics. He's clumsy because he's anxious. It's a mental thing. But as you see, he like kind of steps forward, and the sister, like not paying attention, fumbles and kind of trips over her robes. Delklin very gracefully, both arms just kind of swings her and like rights her in a way that's like you're just like, does he dance? Like just what was that was a little too flare. But he in that moment he was perfectly balanced. There was not a single waste of motion. You can tell like in the sense that like you can't tell which foot he favors, you can't tell which hand he writes with.
Mhm,
Like just looking at being
mhm,
able to like gauge a person, you're just like he is
mhm.
perfectly balanced. And I bet you if I asked him, he doesn't smoke or drink either, so none of his organs have taken wear and tear. Um, so just to,
I can't harvest the satyr.
but I mean, you could. It's an
I
option.
wanna. I wanna. Um,
You see, as the sister
if
gets introduced,
Bernard, if Bernard looks at his wife, he knows exactly what she is
Mhm.
thinking right now.
And you hear Bernard in your mind go, Desdemona down.
He's just.
I'm aware. I trust me. I know. I
I'm
know.
afraid.
Bernard, like you watch him make the decision to not actually like physically like hold you somewhere, just because he's just like because like you need to understand this is like a couple of decades in your life. You have never come across a satyr that is this well
Yeah.
kept. Like at no
Mhm,
point in time.
mhm, mhm,
And I'm gonna
mhm,
add insult to
mhm.
injury right now. You don't have a single piece of satyr back home. There's not a single piece of satyr in that pantry. Um,
He's just so perfectly
What is
balanced, and I
that?
will just list
What
out
is
like
that?
the math equation of his like the
What
facial
in the
structure of his
bees is
bones.
this?
Yep. And Bernard is like in his head. You can hear him just going, "Yep, honey, I know. Yes, yep, I'm aware.
No, but the
Yep."
Yeah.
curve of his horns match the Fibonacci sequence, and it makes the perfect golden spiral. I've never seen that naturally occur.
It doesn't. Declan is a very very rare breed. Apparently, about 3 generations back in his family, they actually were so well equipped and able. One of them caught the attention of one of the like capital A angels, and that is why most of his family. You think he's gorgeous? You should see his dad. Um,
Can I kill his dad?
I mean, I don't know where he is. I've only met the man a handful of times just because I came to visit because Declan works here. But like imagine Declan, but about 2 feet taller, broader, wider. His parents are farmers. And like glossy white fur. They all got white fur with like gold highlights. It's like, and now that you're here, you can see Declan's got flecks of gold strands in his hair. Like
Okay.
it's
Cool. I don't actually need to harvest the satyrs. We
also
should continue.
also like Bernard goes like, honey, also real quick, Declan's been talking for like maybe the last 45 seconds. I don't know if you've been paying attention, and you're starting to stare.
Oh, thank you. I will
And you
just
can see
kind
that
of
Declan's kind of like leaned back from you a little bit. You haven't like full on like bent over
right.
him, but like
Yeah.
it was close. It was close.
Yeah.
He's like 5 feet
Mhm.
tall. You like loom over him. He's very short. Um, and he kind of goes, and another thing, we can kill two birds with one stones. Um, again, my sincerest apologies, madam. And he's talking to Maid, and he goes, your brother actually has been given his old cell on Block C.
I
So
hate that.
so if we are if we would like to visit him and make sure that, well, again, this is Blackbridge. He's not comfortable, but he is alive. And last time I laid eyes on him, he was well enough. He might have refused some food and tried to pull one of the guards through the bars. Um,
Um, we'll go to cell block C first. Just go ahead and start walking there, and we'll follow you.
Very well. And Declan leads you guys like up and down up this staircase, but then you see there's a spiral staircase that starts to descend down. And as you guys go further, you start hearing like chains being rattled and animalistic noises. And Declan on the way down goes, just as a quick check, the are you planning on in like interviewing any of the inmates down here at all?
We'll get back to that.
Very well. Um,
In Bernard's head as we are making this way down. You just hear Desdemona go, come hell or high water, we are walking back out of those doors today. Understood?
you experience something that you
Thanks, man.
don't that doesn't happen very often. Bernard takes a couple of seconds to respond, and instead of answering your question, you hear him in your head kind of go, hmm. It's at that point that you notice that Bernard's got like this like million-mile stare. He is not comfortable right now. Like he is descending back into a place that you can see he has spent a good portion of his adult life trying to forget.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
he just kind of goes, sorry, love, what?
I said, come hell or high water, you are walking back out of those doors today.
Yeah. Um, as you get down there, you realize that this cell place is actually like they're dual plate, like 2 inmates per cell. And something you notice pretty quickly: these cells are kind of well kept, like well
Okay.
kept, and like there's stuff in there. As you go by, sorry, I have to pull something up real fast.
Give me 1 second.
Go for it.
Okay, I'm back.
Cool. These are really well kept, like to the point where you're looking through and you're just like, these are apparently the worst of the worst. Why is there like the
Well,
bathroom
that's
door?
being
The bathroom door closes. The first cell block you go by have 2 orcs sitting in them. One of them seems to be younger in his like 30s, 40s. He is pristinely. Desdemona is going to go into cardiac arrest. I'm going to make this clear. Again, pristine, well-kept, well-balanced orcs. 2 of them in this cell. Both male. And again, you're like literally looking at them going, dude, the amount of work. And one of them is displaying just how physically fit he is. He's doing a 2-finger handstand push-up up against the back wall. And you can see there's like a punching bag and like lifting weights in this room. The other one is like sitting on the edge of his bed and he's reading. There's a little bookshelf with books. And as they go by, Declan goes, Old Badger and Gunther the Hound Ironhide, both wanted for 3rd-degree murder. Old Badger in the murder of King Reginald the Iron Rhino and his wife, Queen Uma. And Gunther for the murder of 3 of his classmates back at Blackbridge Battle School. And Bernard kind of looks at them. You watch the younger one look up from his handstand, the one who they called Gunther. They immediately recognize each other. But it's like a weird like camaraderie thing. Like Gunther just gives him a very quiet nod, and you guys continue to walk by. This next one is going to be a bit of a whammy because, well, Desdemona won't recognize him. Quinn will. The next one is as he goes by, you watch there is a Furbolg in like who is like taken off the top half of his tunic. And he's currently in the middle of doing martial art, like Tai Chi, very slowly in the room, and he goes, may I introduce Beau Bramble, wanted for the murder and destruction of the entirety of the Lightspire Abbey, positioned in the northernmost region of Noxstrom. And Beau literally in the middle with his eyes closed just goes, what can I say? I don't do things by half. And as he opens his eyes, you can see his eyes are just black pits. And he goes, also his roommate, and you look up. Clinging to the ceiling of the cell is a massive black bugbear. And Declan goes, simply known as Blackfang, wanted for 247 charges of human, dwarf, gnome, halfling, and Kenku cannibalism. 214 of those counts were children. And you watch Blackfang kind of lick his chops, and he goes, what can I say? The younger ones are so tender. And he grins at the 2 of you, and he goes, hey there, Bernard. Long time no see. Bernard, Desdemona, the only way I can phrase it, Bernard flinches. Bernard actively flinches. Like away from the cell. Because you can
I have never seen that before. Okay.
Yep. No, Bernard, it's the only way I can phrase it. For the first time since meeting him, Bernard's scared. Bernard's just scared. He doesn't want to be here. And he like musters himself and he goes, Blackfang, didn't think you'd still be here. I thought they'd have executed by now. He's just like, hey, what can I say? The High Priestess herself gave me a full bill of health, and I am reformed. He's grinning at you in a way, it's just like, no, he hasn't. And he's just like, what can I say? Full bill of health, I'm reformed. Not to mention, I am now officially one of the Black Hounds. I get sent on some prison contingent. I'm supposed to be in disguise. I'm supposed to be like meek and like small and pathetic. They're transporting somebody back here, some fucking redhead bimbo who banged someone's husband.
Why is the word that all of your fucking NPCs use for Revel bimbo? Like it's accurate, but it's infuriating, and I would like them to get better insults.
I hear what you're saying.
I work so hard to be a slut. Revel works so hard to be a slut, and bimbo?
I mean, they're good at it.
Bimbo?
I mean, well, look at the bright side. Anybody who's used that word is someone who hasn't been in bed with Revel. So can we hawk it up to maybe a touch of jealousy?
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Like
Okay.
they haven't tasted. They
I
haven't
will concede your
tasted
point.
of the sacred fruit, so like they don't know. And you keep moving on. The next one, there is a Githyanki woman, and a woman who I can only describe as the top half of her is human, with 8 black eyes, and the bottom half is a spider.
Ooh, Drider.
Both of them are in for murder, theft, and highway robbery. The spider lady is currently nestled in like this, like one of those creepy tube spider web nests up in the back corner. The Gith is currently going through arts, like painting, an art piece of
Mhm.
just a city skyline completely in flames.
What?
Um, and the last one are, and it's just like, and now our two newest inmates to Cell Block C, the pairing simply known as Fallen and Mutt. Fallen is a very, very tall, buff, bald ASMR woman, and Mutt is
Mhm.
a Goliath woman who has like very disheveled hair, a bunch of like bone jewelry, like the bone ridge through the nose, the bridge of the
Mhm.
nose, one in her like just like in around her hair, got this thick head of black hair that's kind of just puffed out, and she's currently like crawling around the room and just making animal noises. As you can see as you go, the animalistic noises are are
Mhm.
are were mostly from her. Like what you heard on your way
Mhm.
down, it's mostly her like grunting and yelling and roaring and like, and you can see
Okay.
like the ASMR lady is kind of following her around the room trying to calm her down. You can see that it's just due to the outside stimuli of people walking past her cell, and she could hear you and smell you probably as you were coming down the stairs.
Okay.
Um, and then the last one is something by itself, and the cell is completely blacked out. And he goes, longest member of cell block C, um, 24 life sentences served consecutively. And it is a marvel that in 300 years he hasn't passed away, seeing as our kind aren't known to live that long, but simply the creature known as Meek. What can only be described as a carnivore esque satyr that stands about 10 feet tall, hits the bars and tries to grab Declan through them. Declan has stood himself, so he's just out of reach. He still flinches and yelps and jumps backwards. But this guy is like clawing, like you can see his arms obviously have the marks, and so have like his face and his chest of just rubbing himself raw against the bars of the cage. From what you can tell, these scars are years old of him trying to like get out and or get at somebody who's on the other side of his bars. Um, and then he goes, now a new and now serving time
Ah.
until further notice. One
Okay.
Warug Iron Sweet, and you see Declan stop and look, and he goes, "Oh gods!" And as you come clean with the last cell block, you look in and you see Warug, who is lying on the floor, and he looks like somebody has simply been torturing him.
Yep.
He is covered in like cuts and lacerations. Both one of his eyes is swollen shut. The other one looks like it might have suffered permanent damage. All of his fingers are broken. All of his fingernails and toenails look like they've been ripped out. His ears have been ripped off, so now instead of being pointed, they're
Bitch.
rounded. His nose has been broken, and you're looking at somebody who looks like he's beating the hell out of you. That being said, as his eyes swivel to you, you look
Do
at. Oh, sorry.
do I catch him before Maid
I'm just
does?
cautioning at y'all.
Yeah, no, you're just taller.
Need to come up with some more interesting things to write in Arvesh.
Can I cover her
This
eyes
fucking
or
opportunity.
turn her around?
And I'm not mad
Roll
about
a
it.
sleight of hand check.
18.
She rolled a 13, so you managed to like clap your hand over her eyes and like take a knee, and she kind of stops and she goes,
Missed.
like she heard Declan and she kind of went to step past you, but as she does
Mhm.
that, she does it and she stops, and you kind of watch her like shoulders set, and she goes, "That that bad, huh?"
Sorry, but I'm just
Yeah.
digging around.
Let me
Just
see. Let me see.
you
That is
don't
my
have
husband.
to.
That is my husband. I am not going to not look at him. Is he conscious?
I think so.
And you hear Warug, and as he like turns onto his side and grunts, you can see a bunch, like half of his teeth have been knocked out, and he goes, "Yeah, I'm up." Before you
I'll
look,
drop my. Oh no,
um,
go ahead.
before you look, sweetheart, I just want to say it looks worse than it actually feels. They were kind of amateurs. Um, and as your hand drops, something you weren't expected happens. As her eyes look on her husband, Maid's fists clench, and you feel this pulse of magic come off of her. As you just watch a wife's love and rage and need to protect the love of her life just emanates off her. All of the noise from the other inmates of cell block C go quiet as this just kind of goes out. Maid's got power. Like, not quite on par with you, but like, get her to school and get her some training, and maybe one day, yeah. Um, and she literally goes, "Open the cell." And Declan, like, watching a woman very upset right now, like, looks to you and Bernard to be like, I can't do that, but like, I don't want to say it out loud because then I'm worried she's going to attack me.
You tell her. I'm not gonna tell her. You tell her.
And he just kind of keeps rubbernecking between you. The second time May's mouth opens, she shrieks, and she screams, "Open the cell again!" And the only way I can describe it is the power coming off of her amplifies her voice. At that exact moment, about 20 armed wardens immediately descend on your location with weapons.
Yeah, that tracks.
And Warug, who's looking at her, goes, "Honey, I'm all right. It's fine. Remember what we talked about. You need to breathe." And she kind of unclenches her fist and squeezes her eyes shut. And you feel the power get kind of reined back in. And she goes, "Who did this to him?" And Declan immediately babbling, going, I'm not sure. Last night when I saw him, he was fine. I mean, he was a little roughed up because the guard who he tried to pull through the bars punched him back, but like, that was normal. And Maid turns to Declan and she goes, "It's quite all right. I'm very aware that it wasn't you, Declan. That being said, as you can see, my husband has gone to hell under your watch, and I would like to know who's responsible."
Hey, Bo, could you fucking move? Thanks.
And you see that your husband has turned his eyes elsewhere, and he's currently making very deliberate eye contact with any of the wardens he can. And you watch him, and you watch him shift his weight, and he goes, "All right, gentlemen, put those away."
I can't get stuck in a prison brawl right now. Also, it's 9:01.
Yes, it is. Hold on. I'm going to do something real quick.
Me. It would be really nice, Bode.
That was
It would be
wonderful
really
timing.
nice for me. What?
Honey?
Me?
I've got 10 minutes. We can wrap this up in 10 minutes.
What? What's going on?
No, it's fine. No, I was just saying, I just got something I need to do real quick, and you on perfect timing just went, "Me," and I was just like, "Okay, cool." It was just
no,
very.
Bode was just like, "Who even needs a jetpack?" After I fucking completed a jumping puzzle, and I was like, "Me,
Oh,
bitch!
that's funny.
I want one, asshole."
I will kind of just
You can suck.
hold up my hands and
Why?
glance up at the wardens who are up there.
What am I?
Just go.
Why am I
She's so.
sucking so
It's
hard?
fine. You're good here.
What the fuck? What?
Roll insight for me real quick.
What the What the fuck?
That is 25.
On a 25, the two wardens at the end of the line on your left, while their helmets are pointed at you, their eyes are turned down.
What are they looking at?
The floor. Like, as Bernard's eyes go over them, he stops and goes back because they won't look at him in the face. That being said, you see the one furthest over, his eyes flick up to Warug in his cell and then go back to the ground.
Cool. How far away are they from me?
10, 15 feet.
Cool. In his head, he just hears in the scariest voice, I know what you did.
The furthest guard flinches. Like, he tries not to show it because he's in formation with his buddies. The one next to him, like, kind of imperceptibly looks at him.
Great, thanks, Bo.
And you watch what can only be described as what you and Bernard do when you guys are talking to each other telepathically. And you feel this weird hum of magic between the two of them for half a second, and then it goes away. And you watch both of them, like, kind of, like, reset themselves. And the one on the far end who you said that to looks up to meet your eyes. And while there is still fear and unease, there's also a set of defiance and a level of confidence in the fact that there are currently 3 of you and 30 of them.
In his head, he will just hear. Actually, wait. Lies. How shiny is his armor?
It's very well kept.
Shiny is in, like, new?
Not brand new, but, like, it hasn't seen much.
How old does this guy look?
From the eyes that you can see through the grill in his helmet, he could be anywhere between 20 and 50.
Is this supposed to be a lightsaber? Like, is that what is his tattoo?
I can't start a prison brawl.
Okay. Wait, huh? Wait.
In Bernard's head, he
Oh,
will just hear his wife go, "You clocked the 2 on
am
the
I
end, right?"
supposed to fucking jump?
They know what happened to Warug.
Or they did it.
Apparently.
I'm gonna kill them.
Uh-huh. How do we do that without the rest of them?
Bernard out loud goes, Declan, would you mind calling the 2 at the far end out of line, please? And Declan goes, yeah, sure. Warden, step forwards. And you watch the 2 of them hesitate for half a second.
Do it, you fucking coward. I say in his head.
And they both step forward. And Bernard goes, that's odd. They're just like, what? And Bernard goes, I thought one of the things of wardens is they had to keep their shit pristine so they didn't, that they couldn't be, like, seen from Geralt. I swear to God. Trying to narrate Geralt. And Bernard's just like, I thought they were supposed to stay inconspicuous and all look the same. And Declan goes, they are, and it's just like, so what's wrong with Tweedledee's foot and what's wrong with Tweedledum's hand? Only after Bernard clocks it that you see it. There is recently dried blood. It's a speck on his boot, and it is barely akin to his
True, thank you for noticing, actually.
and, like, it's small splashes, but the other one, there are a couple on his gauntlet. And he goes, Sister Crane, she's been kind of quiet. She goes, yes. And he goes, do any chance do you have in your arsenal something that can maybe distinguish whose blood that might be? And she goes, as a matter of fact, I do. I work with our coroner team. Um, and she
Mm.
takes a second and she goes, step forward, wardens, please. Where Declan is a wuss, while Sister Crane is obviously quiet and kind of keeps to herself, there's no denying the fact that when she says something, she expects it to be listened to.
Okay.
So both of the wardens, again, very reluctantly step a little closer. And she reaches out and she touches their hand, and magic gathers around her hand and it glows. And she reaches another hand towards Warug. Um, and this beam of golden light extends from Warug to this first guy's gauntlet. And as soon as the two lines connect, they flash gold twice. And she does the exact same thing with the boot, and she goes, it would seem that the blood on these two wardens does in fact match cellmate 6426. The cockiness is completely dropped away because now these two men are within leaping distance of your husband, who's got a psychopath's grin on his face.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, Declan, if you wouldn't mind letting me know real quick, what is the sentence for breaking code of conduct? And Declan goes, depending on the severity, 5 years in maximum, and or death on the other end. After, I believe the max sentence we gave was 50 years of torture before execution. And Bernard goes, all right. Um, and Bernard looks at them and goes, I'm going to give you boys one opportunity to make whatever punishment you're about to undergo less. Who ordered you to do this? Because if you're stupid enough to not clean your armor properly, you're definitely not smart enough to think this up on your own. And both of them, you watch their eyes kind of flit towards each other, and then they both kind of set their shoulders like, no, I'm not saying a word.
I want to cast Detect Thoughts.
As you do that, you hear the same pulse of magic. And because this is funny, I'm going to give this to you. The one who flinched, the one you initially talked to, is
Mhm.
literally in the middle of making the telepathic connection that, as you can see, is simply on the is engraved on a sigil that's on the left side of the inside of what you're assuming is every warden's helmet.
Okay.
And he's kind of going, what the hell are we supposed to do in this? We've been found out and we're already going to be in trouble. And I don't trust Bernard not to attack us if we don't talk soon. And he goes, they've got absolutely, they can't punish us ourselves though. They don't work here. We're going to be taken care of in-house. And he goes, yeah, but that doesn't help the fact that we're in leaping distance of one of the worst psychopaths this place has ever had. And literally they're both arguing back and forth because the first one you talk to is pretty close to breaking, while the second one is trying his darndest to silently tell his partner to shut the hell up.
Do I get enough to know their names?
The last names. The first one you talk to's last name is Clark, and the other one's name is Johnson.
Am I intelligent enough to infer? Actually, no. That's. Can I tell from their armor, like, where on the totem pole these guys are?
Oh, these guys are grunts.
Mm-hmm.
I never thought I would say this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Fuck, my scar's on. Dude, come on.
Johnson. I will shoot.
That eye widening was him. Like through the grate in his helmet, you just watch him kind of go.
Johnson, there's no rule that the torture can't start early, and we are as you say, in your house.
Fucking
I'm not looking at him. I'm still looking at Declan and like Sister Crane.
Declan and Sister Crane are both looking at the two of them as Bernard has oh man, Bernard is
He's
trying
like
to
3
get
seconds away from pulling his scythe. Like,
He, oh no scythe. He's just going to launch himself at them.
oh,
Um,
okay.
you can see he's got strangling hands right now. He's just like,
Mm-hmm.
and you can tell right now that it's equal parts a self-righteous anger for obviously the fact that his friend has been hurt, but it's also an aspect of him trying to cope with the fact that he is deeply
He's here.
uncomfortable simply due to the fact that he's like just where he's standing.
Mhm.
And then Wara goes, you hear something behind you, and it's the sound of bones resetting. And you look over to see that Warug has like popped 3 of his fingers back into place and shifted himself up to where he's like standing against the bars. And Mate is like right there, like touching him through the bars. And he's looking at the two of you and he goes, believe me, you don't need those 2 clusterfucks to tell you exactly what happened. And you're right, they didn't think of it on their own. What did you boys think? That I wasn't going to be conscious enough or be able to tell who was under that helmet? You really think I wouldn't remember my chief torturer? And as you say that, you hear Knuckles pop as Bernard, looking at Warren, turns back to look at the two. And you like you've got negative 2 seconds to grab your husband before he does something stupid. And as Bernard like starts to lean forward to like rocket himself forward, Warren goes, "Yeah, Duncan and those two and a couple of the goons came in and roughed me up about 3 hours ago."
Like they dropped us off in the conference room and then went and go beat him up. Is that basically the timeline?
Give or take, yeah.
God damn it. Okay. I do snag my husband by the shirt collar before he does something stupid.
Make a sleight of hand check.
18.
Bernard rolled a 3 on the dice. So you manage to snag him just as he like lunges, and both of the guards flinch backwards, and then like look at you as to being like, "What the hell did she do that for? Why is she stopping him?" But at the same time, they're not going to question it for all that long. Bernard's teeth are grinding together. You can hear the metal on his grill.
As they jump and look at me, I basically give them a death glare of, you better tell me everything right the fuck now.
Clark breaks. As the rest of the wardens are all kind of looking at the two of them like, what the fuck? And he goes, Duncan came to us about 3 hours ago and ordered us that we were supposed to go rough him up to scare him to make sure he didn't plead not guilty at the trial tomorrow. Basically under pain of the fact that Duncan would show up and kill him if he didn't say anything. I'll give props to the little man. He didn't break. And it's why Duncan had us rough him up so badly. We were just supposed to scare him.
That's very helpful of you. Declan, I will assume you know what to do with the 2 of these. Clark seemed to be helpful, so I'm sure he'll be punished, but if you could put in a good word, that would be great. This other one can go to hell for all I care. And then I will go basically like dismiss them and drag Bernard over to go talk to Ward.
Bernard is fighting you every step of the way. It's not because again, it's a silent anger. He's not like roaring or doing anything, but man, he wants to hurt them boys, and he wants to hurt them real bad. And Declan's kind of looking at, giving you a look like, do you need help at all?
Do that?
No, Desdemona doesn't need it. Like she just walks over. And then in Bernard's head, he will just hear, I said we're walking you out of this place at the end of this thing. So I need you to behave.
You, as soon as you make contact again, you get this cacophony of what is happening to Bernard on the inside. It is equal parts fear and anger and just over like he Bernard has hit Bernard has reached the breaking point of the fact that he is overstimulated at this point.
Yep.
Too many emotions have happened, and seeing his friend and knowing who did this to him has sent him over the edge. So you're just getting one-word syllables along like kill, dismember, like bone breaking, like just like all of the things that he is going to do if you let go right now. And you can feel more than like sense the fact that what you just said bounced right off, and like Bernard's not paying attention. The two guards are kind of just standing there. Sister Crane steps forward and she goes, "Gentlemen,
What the fuck was that?
I will personally be speaking to Lieutenant Duncan myself. And I think First Warden Grimm will have something to be said about the fact that he wanted to do this right, to make sure whatever monster did this to my High Priestess is brought to justice. You men may have just jeopardized the integrity of this investigation." And you can see on both of their faces through the grills in their helmet, they didn't think it that far through.
Yep.
They thought they were just like, "Oh, cool, we're getting paid. We're getting like paid or like convinced under the table to go rough up an inmate that we don't like. Sure, cool." And she goes, "Both of you head back to your holding pen and await further instruction." And as they turn away, she goes, "Oh, and gentlemen, I'd probably hand in your badges on your way." And they both kind of walk off, and she goes, "Wardens, return to your posts," and the wardens scatter and go back to a couple places where like Desdemona has to go, "Well, damn, I didn't even see that one. Jesus, he was right there. Damn." Um, Declan is still watching you like fight to keep your husband in bed as his two newest targets just kind of get to walk away. And Declan's still kind of side-eyeing Bernard like,
What are you doing?
"Miss Lady Star, I don't want to be inconvenient, but if he starts a prison brawl, there's not going to be much I can do."
I know. He won't.
He kind of looks at you going, "What you got in your bag of tricks?" You're holding onto the back of his shirt. Roll strength saving throw for me real quick.
8. No, wait, that's dexterity. 16?
16.
Mhm.
If it wasn't for the fact that Bernard is not thinking clearly, you would have lost your grip already.
Yep.
And out of absolutely nowhere, you hear Warwick just kind of go, "Bernard, stop. It doesn't work if we both end up back in this cell." And you feel Bernard, like the razor sharp focus of having a leading target that he can follow, falter for half a second. And Bernard turns back to Warwick, and it's about that time. You've been holding onto the back of her shirt. Bernard's crying. And he goes over to, and he like relaxes. And do you let go as soon as he's like obviously done?
No.
Okay. Bernard turns towards Warug, and Warug reaches his broken fingered hand out through, and he and Bernard, like Bernard gently, but like grips his palm, and Bernard out loud goes, "I'm sorry. I made you a promise the day we left this place that you wouldn't come back here on my watch. And not only are you back, but you got hurt. And I swear by everything that I know and hold dear that you will be walking out of here before the day is over." And Warug kind of looks at him, and you can see on Warug's face there is a level of resignedness to where he has landed, but also a level of understanding that like he like you can see that Warug is convinced that he's not getting out.
Yeah.
And you watch Bernard clock it too, and Warwick just kind of nods, and only into the sense that he knows Bernard is going to do his darndest and try, does Warwick just kind of go, "I know."
Oh, and is speaking as something that he holds dear. I also swear that.
I know.
You're still an idiot, though. Respectfully.
I know. And Warren kind of takes a second, and you watch him like
I-
kind of set himself, and then just like slam his shoulder into the thing, and you watch him like pop his shoulder back into place, and he just reaches down and starts like just very nonchalantly snapping his fingers back into socket as he like is just standing there talking, and he goes, "I don't know what jerry rig jocked up plan that you guys have come up with." The beasts of below have been a thorn in the side of Blackbridge for a while simply because we are, for all intents and purposes, the ones who got away. It's okay if you don't get this. You've already both done more for me than I could have asked for, and definitely more than I deserve.
Remember that part about me calling you an idiot? Sorry, no, continue. I don't actually say that.
We are going to
I'm gonna.
end. Oh, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, do either Bernard or his wife say anything? Because if they don't, I sure as hell will say something in response to that.
Maid is at a loss for words, and Bernard has exhausted himself, so no.
Cool. I look at his wife and then I look at my husband. Um, and then I will look at Warwick. Once upon a time,
What was that? Try that again, please.
I had a choice. To lead a friend to certain death, but, or to not do that. I didn't make the right choice then. I'm sure as hell not going to make the same choice this time.
Please don't fall, I'll cry.
Warren kind of looks up at you and he nods. And it's about that time you hear a very familiar, only in recent hours, gravelly voice go, "How sentimental." And you look down, and leaning up against the pillar between the next cell down from you is Duncan, flanked by about 30 wardens. The only difference is that he is out of his armor and wearing street clothes. And you
I still
notice,
have my husband by the collar.
yep,
By the way, I have not dropped that.
make a strength saving throw.
God damn it.
Wow.
That's a 16 again.
Bernard just rolled a 2 on the dice. It takes the only reason you managed to stick this grab is because Bernard, even though he is an incredibly stocky man, is still a lot smaller than you. But the snarl that comes out of your husband is animalistic as he again makes a dive for Duncan. You notice that Duncan's hands are shackled.
Okay.
And the wardens around him are very obviously escorting him. And he goes, Let me make something abundantly clear. I may have finished up serving my time as a staff member here and am now going to serve my 1.5-year sentence for insubordination. But I am thoroughly going to enjoy what is about to happen because they gave me this last bit as my final request as a staff member here. And he reaches behind him, and you notice now that there's another head among the helmets that isn't helmeted. And he pulls out of the ranks from the wardens a beaten and bloody Theo. And he walks forward, touches a rock on the side of the cell, and just bodily hucks Theo into Warug's cell. And Theo hits the ground. He's unconscious. And that's where we're going to leave tonight.
Bro. Bro, you did not.
Hey, I asked you point blank if you were okay if I made it hurt. You didn't say anything about Theo. You said I wasn't allowed to kill Warug, and I wasn't allowed to break Bernard or Desdemona's hearts. That's all you said. That's all you said. That's all you said. I didn't do that. I did as instructed. Hey, real quick, to anybody out there, if this is the last episode of Desdemona and Bernard's adventures, y'all know what happened to me. I just want this documented for posterity if I come up missing at some point. So this is where we are going to leave it, with Desdemona, Bernard, made in utter shock for multiple reasons. Chief among being, and I'm going to say these out loud just to watch Quinn's facial expression to see if they've thought this far ahead. How did they find your home? How did they get in? And what's become of Warug's kids?
That is all of the questions that I am thinking right now.
Yeah. But as he kind of like throws him, Duncan looks to the two of you, the self-righteous smirk on this man's face. As he does that and then just gets led away. And as he passes Bernard, he looks down at him and goes, "Oh, yes, it was certainly worth it." And as he gets led away, he actually starts laughing to himself. Bernard, just to give Desdemona where we're exactly leaving this off, you are currently fighting a man who's got foam at both corners of his mouth at this point. Bernard's gone. Bernard, like, he calmed back down enough to like be like, okay, my friend, I need to be supportive. Bernard's gone feral. And the rest of the cellmates are like at the front of their cages watching you hold on to Bernard as they're all kind of looking at him being like, only in the context of this space, I don't want to be Duncan, but like obviously Duncan's not going to die right now. But if it was just him and Bernard down here, I don't think Duncan would have made it out right now. And like you can see a level of fear and respect from all of the other cellmates here being like, yeah, if Bernard ever gets his hands on Duncan again, like yeah, no, that he's going to do worse than kill him. But yeah, no, that's where we're going to leave it. Good night, Internet.
I'm
Yee-hee!